This is Katie as Monster.
Delay her
Nobody
again.
can sound like me.
Okay, so what are we talking about exactly?
Today, in Poo Poo Pee Pee.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Another Green Podcast. I'm Juan Rivera.
I'm Kat Graney.
I'm Nathan Austin.
I'm Kathleen Austin.
We're back to last names.
Yeah, apparently
Oh, yeah,
last
we
names
have
are back.
last names again.
We missed someone.
Oh, and Ronnie's back in the back.
Oh, right.
Ronnie's back and mic'd up. He just wasn't listening.
Double mic'd up.
And today we're going to be answering some messages that we've been getting. People have been sending in questions and comments.
Yeah, you guys are funny.
Yeah.
Turns out.
We've been talking about dog shows and dog competitions and all that stuff, but let's talk about everyday salon stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, we all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're all dog groomers. We all squeeze dog booties or not squeeze dog booties. That's a question
Yeah.
that we can discuss. But
I
yeah,
prefer not.
Well, I think everybody prefers to not
Yeah.
squeeze the
It's
dog
just
butt.
an unpleasant experience. But go ahead. Go on.
before we go into those, though, we do have a couple what if questions.
Yes.
What if?
Okay,
Oh, what
she
if
did
you?
not.
Okay.
She missed a word. Kat wrote
Yeah.
out this card for us, and there is a word missing. What if could?
What if could? What if you could swap your body with the body of an animal? Which animal would you choose and why?
Oh, geez.
I'm a big dude, so I feel like I would like to experience life just kind of light and like maybe like a butterfly.
Oh, that
You know, because it's like they weigh nothing. They can fly around and flutter and explore, land on some flowers real
Nice.
quick. They're
Get
beautiful. No, because I'm gonna be a fast butterfly. Yeah,
yeah.
I think a butterfly.
I have something similar. I say bird. I'd come back as a bird.
I was gonna say I do think a bird would be fun because you're free and you're flying and like.
Like a crow. So I'd be an asshole.
But I think I'd be a big cat. I've always loved big cats. So like a cougar or a tiger or
Would you
something
like eating
that.
something alive, though?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Just like
But,
tackling
I
a
mean,
fawn and then eating
hold
its
on,
butthole?
let me think about. I don't want to be a lion. No, thank you. I don't
What
know
about a
why.
cheetah?
Too many.
Super
Many. I don't want to be in a pride. So it's too many because you can never like just be by yourself,
The
especially
life
if
in
you're
a
a woman.
pride is brutal, too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe a cougar because, like, number one, I could stay in California, so and then you get to creep up on people, and they don't get to see you until you're ready to murder them.
Would you be interested in young men?
Yes, I'm already a cougar, guys.
You also
I did
don't,
it.
Older than you.
You also don't
I
have
know,
to
but
murder. You could just freak people out.
No, but I'm getting older. A cougar is just
MILF.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a MILF already.
Yeah.
So sorry. I guess I'm not a cougar yet, but I will be someday.
Or maybe I was thinking, maybe not a crow, but maybe one of the ones that like stabs people in the eye. That's like a crow. They're like really closely related,
Magpies.
right?
No,
Magpie.
magpies in
Be a
Australia.
magpie, Australian magpie, because no one's killing them. They're just like letting them do what they
I
want.
don't even know what that is. What's a magpie?
You see
You
that
haven't
video where
seen the
the
video?
magpie like stuck its beak in the girl's eye? They're
my
like get
God.
really territorial when they have babies.
What
in the
size
nest.
are they? Are
They're like a little small crow.
Medium. They're
Think-
like medium size.
Think
They're
like
not that big.
Smaller, like a blue jay maybe size.
Okay.
A little bit bigger, but they're black with a little white.
But they terrorize Australian people. Like I'll see videos of like little kids crying trying to ride their bike, and these magpies are like attacking them.
Everything in Australia
I
seems
was
to
going
want
to
to kill
say,
you.
poor Australians.
Yeah.
You just got to stay out of
They
the
have all the
magpies
poisonous stuff,
area, you know.
Yeah.
But
You know,
yeah, there was a
huge
video.
spiders.
A lady got this video, like, and when you slow it down, you can see the magpie like swoop in and scoop her eyeball with its beak and then fly away. But it didn't take her eyeball out, so don't worry, she is okay.
Like for funsies, they
She
don't.
thought it just pecked her eye a little, but turns out like
It,
it stuck
like,
its whole beak inside of her
scooped
eye,
that
like
thing.
on the bottom, in between her eye and her like skull.
Do they do that just like fly by and just like a fly by like
Yeah,
stabbing?
it was
Yeah.
because she
Fly
was
by
like
stabbing.
she was like walking by its nest, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, dear
so
she.
it's-
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it
dear.
thinks like, oh,
Rude.
this person's trying to eat my babies or something, which like countable,
No,
I'd take someone's eye out.
I'd like you to be a crow instead, so that I can feed you peanuts and you can bring me shiny things.
Yeah.
No, I'd be the kind of crow that when you fall on accident and you're super embarrassed, but no one sees, but then you hear that crow go, rah.
No, you hear go. "Wah,
That'd be
wah,
me.
wah, wah."
I was watching.
Yeah.
That's pretty
What
funny.
about you, Kat?
Okay, well, I'm kind of the opposite of you. I want to be big and powerful, so I think I'd be an orca, like a killer whale.
Oh, damn.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was like, because
That's a
you know,
pretty
big,
alpha answer.
powerful,
Yeah.
and go
Well,
into the ocean.
I was
You'd
gonna
like to,
say,
like,
I think they're beautiful and majestic too at the same time.
Would you
and
be the
smart,
kind that like flicks the seals around with your tail?
maybe or
Swing
you
it
know,
around, flip it inside out?
possibly?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you know, and it's funny because I thought about that because you guys were talking about flying, and I was like, flying would be so cool. But then, like, under the ocean is like a totally different ball game. Like, how interesting. Maybe I'm going to change mine to shark. No.
I can eat you.
Darn it, darn it.
I think the life of a butterfly would be so short.
Yeah, yeah. Orcas live a
Short
long
and sweet.
Yeah.
But then
And
you'd also
simple,
spend a
which
lot
is
of your time as a
nice.
caterpillar. Like, that's gross.
Well, I think about
Fine,
how
I'll
often
change my
you eat it.
answer.
You're like,
No, a butterfly. No, I stand by it.
Nice,
I
nice.
stand by it.
Nathan. Well, and then you get no. You know what's great about that choice, right? Is because like, yeah, okay, you're a caterpillar for a little bit. Number one, you get to gorge yourself, and then wrap yourself up and take a nice power nap, and then turn into a beautiful butterfly and just have slimmed down and lost all that weight, and now you're beautiful.
Yeah, but if you-
freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
But if you play the numbers right, like you're born, you most likely get eaten,
Nah.
and then you turn into
If you made it into a caterpillar
Yeah, and then
first.
you finally make it into a chrysalis, right? And you turn into a butterfly, and then you most likely get eaten.
I don't know.
Nathan's
Solid
Nathan's gonna
choice.
eat you as a bird.
Solid
Wow.
He's gonna
choice.
come get you.
And then,
Sorry,
like,
I chose
if
butterfly.
If you're lucky, you get to lay thousands of eggs, and then most of those get eaten.
What about a male bumblebee? Did you know that male bumblebees or just like male bees in general, they pretty much just like, well, not honeybees. Okay, I'm talking about like other bees, like leafcutter bees or mason bees or whatever. But basically, they come out of their like cocoon or whatever. I don't think they're called cocoons for bees, but when the males come out, they
Hives?
just basically wait because you know how they're like pupa in the beginning, right? And then then they
They're in
transform
the
into
little honeycomb,
bees,
yeah.
whatever. Not honeycombs though, because not honeybees. They're different. But they basically just sit around and wait for all the females to be hatched, and they basically just bang as many females as they can until they have holes in their wings and they can no longer move, and then they just die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to bang females.
Okay, but if you're a
So-
bee, maybe you'd feel differently.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
Maybe
I
a
mean, maybe
dolphin.
you find
Maybe
a
a dolphin.
Maybe
Yeah.
you find another
Dolphins love that
male
stuff.
bee that feels the same way as you, and then you can just bang until your wings fall off.
Okay. There.
I just thought it was so interesting when I learned that they literally just like wait next to because they get born first. Or they like come out first in the season because we had leafcutter bees for a while.
People that don't know,
And
we
the-
kept bees.
We did keep bees for a little bit, and these leafcutter bees, they like hibernate over the winter, and then when it gets warm enough, then they'll hatch and come out. And so the males come out first, and then they just like wait around for the females
Well,
to be born.
remember, because when the females are laying the eggs, they lay them in like little tubes and like
Like-
holes,
Oh, we had-
and
yeah.
the ones at the end of the tube they make males.
Right.
So they come out first, the males, and then they just hang out. So I
Until they
thought
get to
that-
bone.
Yeah,
until
they just
get to
wait
bone.
around
Yeah.
for some prime.
So is that their sisters though?
I mean,
Yes.
technically, yeah. They
They're
don't care.
bees.
They're bees. It's fine.
okay.
It's no biggie. No
Don't,
biggie.
why you gotta make it weird, Kat?
He's like, never mind. I retract my answers. I'm going
Butterfly.
with dolphin. Butterfly, yeah. Go back to the butterfly. That was a good choice. I
Thank-
liked your choice.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Okay.
Like I said, you get to eat as much as you want. It's
Yeah.
freaking
I do that
fantastic.
now.
And then
Nathan-
turn into a butterfly.
Nathan will eat you.
Yeah.
He's a
You better
bird.
not.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna be
he's
like,
a crow.
I know in a past life
better
there was
not.
someone I told that I was definitely gonna eat him, and I'm gonna hunt you down.
Yeah, every time he sees a butterfly, he's like, maybe you're the one. He's just going to live a diet of just butterflies.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a cougar.
And I'll be a killer whale.
So I guess we won't see Cat, but we'll all be in the same
Every
area.
time I think of big cats, though, I just think of that one video of the one just eating the deer's butt. And I'm like, dang, it's so brutal.
That wasn't a cougar, was it?
It was.
Oh, I
Oh,
don't
no,
remember
it might have been a
that one.
cheetah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that
But-
was not. Although I do
Yeah,
love
I'm like, God, it's
jaguars.
horrible.
They're so pretty though, jaguars.
I feel like there
Yeah.
would be like a better body part to eat first than a butt.
You would think.
Well, I guess it's an easy endpoint. I just recently seen
Yeah,
a
it's
video
nice.
of they're not lions or tigers, but they're like halfway dog. You know, they're a hyena.
Oh.
And it was a young hyena. And it stuck its head in like a rhinoceros's like butt to eat it, and then it died because it got stuck.
It got stuck.
It got stuck in there and died, and none of the other ones knew. And it's just like,
Well, how are they
freaking
supposed to
out.
even get it
Imagine.
out
What are they gonna do?
anyways?
Death by rectum.
Yeah.
They got, well, 'cause-
Horrible.
No, actually, I take it back. We did see another video where a lion got his butt stuck in an elephant, or his. I'm sorry.
Oh my
The
god.
lion got his head stuck in the elephant's butt, and he was stuck for a long time, but they were all eating it. Maybe it wasn't an elephant. Maybe it was something smaller. But they ended up eating through the other side, and so then he was able to get free.
So we like climb through.
I don't know. But
The life of a wild animal
it's
is
wild.
terrible.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
I
I'm
s-
so glad we're civilized.
Yeah. I'm like, oh,
Somewhat.
deers
go
are
to
so
Safeway, get a
beautiful, but it's
steak.
like no deer dies of old age.
I love watching like Discovery Channel to see like the different documentaries, but I always get so sad when it's like when they're hunting or eating, and it's like, can
Yeah.
they just be friends?
I go back and forth.
they're
Sometimes,
hungry.
sometimes I root for the hunter, and sometimes I root for the like the hunted. It just depends on like what it is. But it is funny because my kids do that too, where they're like, no, don't catch him, don't catch him. And I'm like, okay, but what happens if you don't catch him? Then he's gonna starve to death. So like you gotta pick which one, and then they're like, oh, I didn't
mean,
think about that.
Did
Okay.
you not learn anything from Mufasa?
I would say the circle of life.
Mufasa didn't get eaten.
And the antelope eat the grass.
Yeah, but he taught his son.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
But then there's like the walruses that just throw themselves off of cliffs, and, and you're like, oh. You ever see that one? Yeah, they're just like the walruses. You're just like,
Oh, that one was.
and then
sad,
it's like
yeah.
poof, down a.
It was like the
hill.
ice caps are melting, and then it had like walruses. Like there was no place
Oh,
for them to
that
go,
one?
so they
Yeah.
went up this cliff, but
And
there was
then they
no
couldn't
way for
get
them
off.
to get down except for down the face of the cliff. So it's literally just like 1,000-pound, like walruses, just like freaking
Splatting.
cart rolling down this hill. It's terrible. Yeah.
I recommend not
It was on
going to
Planet Earth.
watch it.
I just avoid. Yeah, I avoid things.
I was watching it with the kids, and the kids are like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's nature, son." What was the question though?
The question was, what body would you swap
Yes.
of an animal?
What animal would you be?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
What's
that's
next?
a cougar wouldn't get eaten, so that's a good choice.
Yeah, but
They can
they
get
don't die
hunted.
of old age though.
Yes, they do. What would kill them?
They starve because they can't catch anything.
Not me.
Is that how they
I'm
die?
an apex predator.
There's no cougar out there dying of old age.
You
No
don't
way.
know
They
that.
probably get hurt
You
and
don't
starve to
know
death. Every
that.
single
Or shot.
yeah, or they get hunted,
Not
but they
in
probably most
California.
likely just can't catch
They-
anything
but-
or get injured, and then they die.
People.
I
kill
never
them if
thought of
they're
that.
harming
That
our-
like in
I wouldn't
wildlife.
harm humans.
Yeah,
No
there's
one
no
just
old
dies.
folks
Just
home for
joking.
cougar. And then deers, right? It's like they don't die of old age. They eventually
They
are
get
so
eaten.
slow that they get eaten by
Yeah,
something.
but the cougar doesn't get eaten. And
Wow.
I would be a really good hunter.
It'd be an
and I would
awesome
never get
like
caught.
4 years, and then you'd die.
And I'd be watching.
You would have died like
You've been like 3 days old dead.
you would have died like 50 times already.
No, I'm an indestructible butterfly.
Oh, okay.
It's hypothetical. I can
Same
make my
as
own
me.
rules.
Same
Yeah.
as me.
Yeah.
Apex predator,
Yeah.
never gets caught. Yes.
Yeah.
I,
There are butterflies that drink blood. I've seen that.
Butterflies?
Butterflies.
Oh my god. I am a sophomore.
I'll never forget that. That's really
next
funny.
question.
Wait, but you said there was butterflies that drink blood?
They are, yeah.
They're the swallowtail butterflies. The pretty yellow and black ones are actually part carnivorous, and they'll land on dead carcasses and feed on them.
I'm those.
Is that why they're
Yeah.
so emo? Where are they the ones that have the long tails? Oh, okay, yeah, because like I feel like every emo person just like has something with one of them on them. That's why I get it now.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to like Mariposa during the migration and see all the monarchs.
I've seen a lot. Well,
They-
they
they-
used
This
to be
does
a
say
hard
that
farm.
some butterflies actually
You used to be
hibernate
able to
and
go
live
and
for
the
several
trees
months.
would be literally
during the winter
covered in monarch butterflies.
Ardenwood
Like,
Farm is a little farm in the East Bay. A little tiny farm.
We should research when that is.
And me.
and
Because he wants to
Butterfly
be with
in the
them.
sky.
He's gonna be like this.
he's gonna just like transform and fly away.
Well, I think I love butterflies so much because in kindergarten we had like classroom caterpillars, and then they would like cocoon, and then we would like go release them, and we all had like monarch shirts, and it was a whole thing. So I think that's why
You can
Yeah.
buy
I
a
love
little kit
butterflies.
online. I bought one for
Yeah.
Ellie. Yeah, she
a
raised
little what?
you can buy kits.
They send you a little
Oh, kit. So
caterpillar.
you can buy a little kit
I
online.
swear I heard a kid online. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Not
No,
anymore.
a kit of caterpillars. that
Yeah.
butterflies.
'Cause- yeah, you can definitely.
But our last one, we
let's
had
get
a
butterflies.
disabled one. Its cocoon fell while it was developing. And her little wings didn't unfold, so we just, she was our pet until she died.
Did you feed her? How long did she live?
She like 2 weeks. No, like 2
Wow,
weeks.
2 weeks.
But we fed her
pretty good.
like we just made her a
Horrible
little
existence for that
capsule,
poor
a little
thing.
sugar water.
little sugar
Okay,
water.
I'm definitely
and
rethinking my
flowers.
answer now because all this butterfly talk. I didn't realize they lived for like a week.
Yeah, they don't
very
live that long. Well, no,
Yeah.
monarchs live for long
No,
because they
I don't-
migrate.
I don't think, but
We
they
should ask
don't.
Siri.
But they don't make the migration themselves. I think it's like a life cycle. Like they
Oh,
go down and
maybe.
then they.
Like they pass it on to their children.
Like they have
yeah,
babies.
I mean, I don't know for sure. I
don't-
could be saying
All right,
something
we're gonna
hella
have to
wrong.
look into it, I guess. But
Ronnie's on it, I
Siri.
think.
15 to 29 days.
oh,
Yeah.
15 to 29
So
days.
they go all the
okay.
way down from Mexico into North America. They're like that's all different life cycles.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So it's like their great grandbabies make it back.
That kind of makes it even more impressive that they know where to go, though.
It is impressive.
Yeah.
They're very impressive animals. So see, it's
Yeah.
you could lead an impressive life.
Okay, there.
Legacies.
Except for if you're a gay butterfly, then your babies won't be able to have no
I won't have
babies.
babies.
So you'll just
I'll have so much fun.
you'll just do
We'll
two.
just flutter around all day.
You'll do your 2-week migration and then just die with no offspring to carry on your name.
Do you think gay butterflies flap differently?
They do, yeah. Maybe your wings like curl.
Yeah, they might have.
Yeah, a little curl at the end.
Some sass. Okay, next question.
Anyway.
If you could build a breed of dog, what would it look like and what would you call it?
I'm kind of obsessed with the Scotty, so I just probably build the perfect Scotty and be like, look at this Scotty.
Yeah, that's a hard one, right? Because like there are so many good breeds out there. I mean, I will say like I love the intelligence and the easygoingness of like the poodle, right? Because they're so
Katie's about to turn into a
Fun.
doodle breeder.
shut the hell up.
Instantly
Maybe add a
transform.
lab to it.
No.
It'd be awesome
Not
if
a
someone just
lab.
took the
A golden.
intelligence of a. Yeah,
No.
it doesn't work like that.
I know. Well, that's what I mean. Well, it says if you could build one, right? A breed of dog. I just don't know. Because like I said, like, I don't know. I enjoy the things you can do with like the poodle hair but then I just don't know. I don't know.
Something I would like is like a black Bashan, like exactly like a Bashan but black,
Yeah.
just because the freaking dirtiness of my
Oh,
dogs. They are dirty by
You
the next
could
day.
do that. You could just dye them.
So what would you name your black Bashan breed?
I have no
A
idea.
blushon.
This was a bad.
Blush
I feel like that one was a bad one for us because we're all like, no,
They're
no
perfect
mixed
just the
Bashan.
way they are.
Well, I
Bashan
think
Froze.
frozen. No, then it would need to be pink. Then it would need to be pink. Bashan Froze is pink.
No, but the fro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the afro.
Oh, I was thinking like rose, froze. So roses are pink.
Just thinking about drinking.
I'm just
already.
thinking about drinking. I guess.
You're a drunkard.
Somebody bring me a drink. Just kidding. This is just Celsius.
Is it
That
poisonous
might have
orange
been
juice?
offensive though, so I apologize.
Yeah.
What?
Froze.
Froze.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh.
So I'm sorry. I don't know. I was trying to be funny. Maybe it wasn't funny.
See, I didn't even think of that. I just thought rose. I thought you were making a
Good.
pun on rose.
Alcoholics.
Right.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well, let's get into the topic of just everyday salon stuff.
Yeah.
The first question: what are some policies you have in your salon and why? So
Jeez. Well,
I think
No, go ahead.
go ahead. You
My-
have all you have the best policies, so you go.
my favorite policy that we have is that all clients have to be on a standing 4-week appointment. If they don't come in every 4 weeks, they are not my client.
Yeah.
And I feel like that since we switched to that, the dogs love coming in. They're used to the routine. I don't have to demat very much. And I feel like that just changed everything in my salon.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, so we did do something similar. It's not quite as extreme as your guys'. I think just because since we have so many people, it's really hard to maintain
That consistency.
5
Yeah,
groomers
that's
on
true.
4-week schedule. And like, it would I think if it was just me and Nathan, we could do it and we could have gotten all of our clients on a regular 4-week schedule. But we do have I would say maybe 50% of our clients are on a regular 4-week schedule. And I agree with you because I mean, they know what to expect when they're coming in because
Yeah.
they're used to it. They are less matted. I mean, although I do have some that are still still tangled in 4 weeks. And I'm like, how? Even 2 weeks sometimes. And I'm like, how did this happen? But I just think the dogs are more used to everything that's happening. They're not as dirty. They're not as tangled. Skin, ears, nails, like everything is just better.
It's maintenance.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I have a question, like, kind of on that. Is like, what is the funniest reason or the funniest excuse someone's had for their dog being matted? The funniest one I've heard is that their dog in the parking lot fell onto the floorboard of the car and rolled on the floorboard and got matted.
Suck their head out the window, became mad.
They give it to me, and it's like, 20 weeks matted. And they're like, oh, it just happened in the car. The dog it fell on the floor mat and then got matted.
Or what I think I've gotten, like, it rained last night. All right.
Can you imagine going to somebody with like a hairdresser with dreadlocks and be like, I just fell down and my hair got like this.
Yeah, we know how long your dog's been matted.
I feel like it's kind of like the dentist. Here we go with the dentist.
Yeah.
They know if you don't floss every day. They know.
Sure.
Yeah.
They know. We know.
I lie every time though.
Why? They know.
Because I don't floss that often. I do floss, but not.
You water pick every day now.
Yeah.
So when the first time Nathan
So that's
went to the
floss. Do you
dentist,
consider that flossing then?
yeah, it is.
Then look at that. I floss every day.
Well, okay, so like for you, like you never went to the dentist as a kid.
No.
Your mom never took you, not once. And
Dentist sucks.
as an adult, when you went finally for the first time, like, you didn't know all that stuff. So then they were
She's
like, you
do
got
this
it.
and that. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm on it.
No. See, the difference is though, like, I feel like regular us people, or at least me and Kat, like they're like, you gotta floss every day. And we're like, okay. And then like, I'll like floss for like a week or two after, like, yes, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be so good. No, Nathan came home and was like, we're gonna have heart disease if we don't take care of our teeth,
this
Katie. Like, we have to do so. Like, it doesn't matter if we're gonna be late for work or if we're gonna be late even dropping our kids off at school. He's like, I don't care. I have to water pick.
Yeah.
Like, he will make us late to water
is very
pick.
important.
Yeah, he's on me.
His dental hygienist scared the crap out of him.
Well, she's like, considering you've never been to the dentist, like as a child or like a young, like your teeth are not that bad. So like, just take care of them. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yeah. She's like, you don't want to have like the gingivitis, and then it leads to messing up your heart. And then she told me that, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. So Nathan is the client that we want all of our clients to be, because he was like done and done. Like, he does not play around. Yeah. He does not care. He does it every day.
Our hygienist tells Katie about how good I am.
Oh, yeah. She'll be like, oh, I see you're not flossing your teeth, but I seen your husband this morning and he is doing fantastic. And I'm like, yes, thank you. So, well, okay. So we talked about the 4 weeks, right? And then something that we do that I feel like a lot of salons, well, and I wouldn't say we do a great job of it, but we try, is like no call, no show. Yeah. Or late fees. And I do think it's important. Obviously, I'm not like, if you don't show for any reason whatsoever, like, you're going to get charged. Like, definitely am not, right? Like, if somebody's like, I'm in the emergency room, I'm so sorry, I forgot to call and cancel, I'm not going to charge you.
We had a client that called us while she was in the hospital in labor and was like, I'm so sorry, I can't come to my appointment tomorrow because I'm giving birth. And we're like, yeah,
it's
that's
okay,
fine.
Yeah.
Don't charge me.
Okay.
Don't charge me.
Yeah.
So if somebody calls us though, and we keep records, so if it's like their second or third offense, I'm gonna charge them. Yeah. But if it's their loyal client and they haven't, I'll maybe not charge them and just tell them, well, look, I'm gonna put in the notes that you've been notified that there is a no-show fee.
Right, we've made you aware.
And then the second time, I may charge them like half or $20 or half of thing.
The most lenient.
He's a pushover.
But then when people are like, because I feel bad, but then if people like just have no regard for, I'll just tell them, well, you ain't coming in until you pay this.
Right. I won't even book you another appointment until it's paid.
Also, it depends on how they react to it. They're like, if they're apologetic and like, I am so sorry. But if they're like, yeah, I didn't come, you call them and they're like, yeah, I'm not coming.
Or, I forgot. All right.
I can't make it.
Can I reschedule? And I'm like,
it usually makes it easier when I tell the client, like, look, you had 2 time slots booked and I'm paying this person now for that time they're here. So like, you're covering that.
Right. So
Like-
I do think it's important to not just, oh, there's a no-show fee and like that's that. But I do think it's important to explain to them why. Because like for our salon, our no-show fee is supposed to be the price of the groom. And I tell them because like, unfortunately, when you show or if you cancel too last minute, I cannot book another dog in that time slot now. And so if it's me or Nathan or anybody in my salon, now they're sitting there for an hour. They
Or two.
don't, or two, depending on the dog, and they are unable to book another dog in that time slot.
And we still
we're
pay them
missing
for
out.
that time.
Yeah, but just in general, I mean, the whole salon is missing out, and that's. I will say, like, I have paid no-show fees myself. I'm not. Nobody's perfect, right? Like, even though I get really frustrated when people no-call, no-show, I have done it on accident, not intentionally. But I'm never like, oh, I'm not paying that. Like, I missed one of my hair appointments last year. I've been using the same girl forever, and she messaged me. It was like a day that we happened to have off for some weird reason, so I just like totally forgot about it because normally I go from work to my hair appointment. And she messages me, and I was like, can I still come down? I'm so sorry. Like, and she's like, by the time you get here, I just won't have time, which I get. My hair is very time intensive. And I was like, I'm so
That's
sorry.
a big bill.
Yeah,
Hair is a big bill.
I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, obviously, charge me because I know you have a no-call, no-show fee. And then, like, we'll reschedule when you have time. She was also gracious about it because, like I said, I've been going to her for a really long time, and I've never done that before. So I don't think she charged me, like, the whole thing. I think it was, like, half. But it definitely, I was like, all right, well, that's that.
Well, the time is set aside for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you come or not, it's still set aside for you. So you
Right.
should pay for that time.
Well, because you could have put somebody else in that time slot. Often we'll have a waiting list, and I'm like, I could have booked somebody else in that time slot, and now I just have nothing. And that's just, it's not right.
Well,
And
especially the ones that no show because you're like, this time was for you. I'm calling you 15 minutes after your appointment. You're still not here. I can't call in a dog off the cancellation list and have it here within a reasonable amount of time because there's only an hour difference. So
And we
there's no
also-
point.
We also give people reminders.
Yeah.
right, yeah. We have, I mean, like our
We use Cuddles app.
Cuddles, and they send out a text 48 hours before. They send out a text when you book the appointment. They like, there's all these things, all these steps. So like,
Be a responsible adult. Show
Yeah.
up
Be
for your appointments or call us.
well, and
I-
yeah,
it
if
is- I-
things
I-
happen, but like, just take responsibility.
I feel like people don't realize how we deal with hundreds of customers, right?
Yeah.
And how many family emergencies do you have?
right.
Like, okay, the way I see it is, okay, so if a client comes in every 4 weeks, they come in 12, 13 times a year, and each appointment is 3 hours. So there's 36 hours out of the year that I need you to be here.
Right.
And how likely is it that 2 out of those appointments there's a family emergency? Like I don't like mathematically, statistically,
Right.
like how
a
come
butterfly.
every time
Like you're the
we
living
have an
butterfly.
appointment, every time we have an appointment, like you know what I'm saying? Like go buy a lotto ticket because it's lining up real nice,
There are some people though that are just a fucking mess.
right?
you know?
Well, okay, there is that, but so going back to the policy, right? Like there are times where
That's
people,
me.
Nathan,
And
yeah,
me.
yeah, but the difference is
I'm a mess.
The difference is though
hot
that
mess.
you would pay the fee if somebody was like,
Oh yeah, I
now
wouldn't
you
even
owe
blink
me
an
the
eye
fee.
at it.
Yeah,
I'd
no
pay the
questions.
fee because I know it's my bad.
But I was gonna say, we'll get the people right. They'll call like maybe an hour before their appointment. I'm not gonna be able to make it for whatever reason, whatever. And maybe I know it's somebody that we've already talked to, or whatever the case is. Or I go like, oh well, or maybe they call a few hours before their appointment, but our policy is 24 hours. And I go like, well, can somebody else drop off the dog? Can you drop off early? But like we try to be as accommodating as possible. Like you can drop off early. That's totally fine. You have an appointment at, like 10 minutes after this appointment, just drop off early so you can make it to your other appointment. No biggie, right? Like we try to be really accommodating. And, but then when they're like, no, none of that will work. And then you're like, okay, well, there is going to be a fee for today's appointment though. And I'll send it through for you and it costs this much. And then they're like, I'll be there.
Yeah, they make it work.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, surprise, they're there. And you're like, okay, I see.
We like,
I see.
Yeah, it all of a sudden they make it work. Yeah, we try to like do this balance because obviously we're super grateful for our clients,
Absolutely, yeah.
and we value their time and we want them to value ours. But like also I have a business to run and I have 10 people that I need to make sure I have money to pay. You know?
Right. Well, it's a mutual
like-
respect.
Yeah.
If you book the appointment, respect that. I didn't force anybody to book an appointment, so it's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
We
I
allow-
always feel guilty though.
We allow our clients to miss one appointment a year without penalty, without anything. But if it's more than that, then it becomes a kind of a habit,
Right.
and you see, okay, you have to pay for this. I'm sorry.
Well, right. And that's like what Nathan said, right? Like, well, you've been loyal. So a lot of times I will go like, depending on what the excuse is, right? Or how they act. I'll, like, it is normally the price of the groom, but since it's your first time, like I'll either waive it or I'll be like, oh, I'll do like half, but it's normally this much. So then they're like, oh, thank you.
Have you heard of those salons? And I've seen this a couple times where they have like a buy-in, like you pay a monthly fee and you get to come in
However,
like
many
a
however
membership.
many
times.
you want, like a membership. Yeah, I have no idea how that works, but it's interesting to me. But I would hate having my freaking day just all of a sudden slammed with a bunch of all the dogs that want to come in on the same day.
Well,
But
I've heard of it.
I think they still have to make appointments though. Like they
I
just
don't know.
no, they just like
I've heard
walk in?
ones where they could just like, but then could you imagine if like, then suddenly you have like 1 million dogs on one day and then the rest of the month is just like quiet and you're like, okay.
I'm
But
sure
I
they
don't
work it
know.
out somehow.
There
So
has to be.
if you have a salon like that, message us and let us know how it works because I think it's interesting and
Right.
weird.
I'd like to know more about how it works because to me it seems confusing.
Yeah.
But
Remember
Also-
back in the day, everyone would be like, all the dogs come in at 8 and we
yeah.
do them in whatever order we want and send them home. Like, and now we look at that like it's freaking crazy.
that's weird. Well, and then so we also do like late fees. So sometimes if we do like contact somebody like, hey, we had you down for this time today, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can be there in a half an hour, and I'm like, okay, well now you put my whole day behind, but I'll still take you because I like we're really booked up for like several weeks, and I don't want your dog to get mad at or. I'd rather just like not even deal with the hassle of like rebooking you and charging you for today, but it'll be like a fee because now my day is behind. So we do
because
that.
we either have to like stay late or we gotta work through our lunch or something.
No, we don't do that. We don't work through our lunches.
We say that, but I work through my lunch all the time.
Me and Nathan do.
You don't have to clock in.
Me and Nathan do set a bad example sometimes. So we try really hard to make sure all of our employees take their lunches.
We have a policy where anything after 10 minutes costs money. So if you come in between 10 and 15 minutes, $5, 15 and 20 minutes, $15, and then it goes up to like up to $30, I think. And after that, we can just cancel your appointment, and you have to pay for the it's $40. $40, and then you have to pay for the missed appointment.
And I
Right.
think like you guys, it's hard. I think it would be hard to like have a salon with no rules like that and then come in with rules. But if you like build it from the ground up like that, then your customers know what to expect.
Well, we do consultations. So my sister helped us with, we have a client handbook that we give. So they come in for their consultation. We go over all of our policies. It's all color coded, and it tells you like we have a drop off time and an assigned pickup time. And then we have,
Color-coded.
yeah, I'll put some pictures up online.
Nice.
And it's like, it's spelled out, like there's a clock on it, and it's like 8:10, and then it says $5, 8:15. Like it's like simplified because it is, if you just tell me this, and this, and this, people aren't going to remember your policies, right? So the handbook, because we're not super strict. We just need things to run a certain way for us.
Right.
So you're setting expectations.
Right. Yeah. And then at the consultation, it's like, do you agree to all of these? Is it something that works with your schedule? We understand if it doesn't. And then if they choose to be our client, then, they're a client. If not, then we understand it's not for everybody.
I think there's a fine line between like setting expectations and sometimes you'll see people on like social media and it seems like they're reaming their clients,
Right.
and it just seems like such a bad like look, right? And like your client is not your enemy, right?
Right.
And they're not gonna know what to do if you don't lay it out to them clearly.
Right. Absolutely.
And so that's such a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, they don't know what they don't know, right? Like if
Exactly.
you don't tell them what your policies are, how are they going to follow them?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You should start selling that handbook. People would
Maybe-
pay for that
Maybe we will.
because I would pay for that.
Hey, that is such a good idea.
If
Yeah.
you're interested in
That is such a good
client
idea.
handbook, send me a message and we can chat.
And the way that they run things, it's just gorgeous and very well thought out and put together. So I I will buy one.
That's $1 million business right there.
Yeah, geez.
Product of the
Higher.
year.
Yep.
But I do think that something that we can go over, right, is like do's and don'ts as a pet parent, right?
Okay.
Because like they're obviously we're all just people, but there are things that I think most of us communally have the same experiences with pet parents.
Yeah.
I think one thing I'd like to highlight is I'm sure we've all gotten the client that brings in a photo of what they're interested in getting, which is great, right? Because I love photo reference, because I will say that sometimes I think things get lost in translation, right? Like a pet parent will describe to you a groom that they're looking for, and we think like we know exactly what you're talking about. And then we bring the dog out and they're like, this is not what I was saying. And we're like, where's the disconnect, right? And I think just because the lingo can be so different, they have an idea in their head that's different than what we thought they were describing. So photos are great, right? But then you get like the photo that looks nothing like the dog. Different coat type, different like everything. And you're like, I can't do this to your dog.
Or you get the picture of like the 2-week-old puppy.
Oh, all the time.
And you know, this 12-year-old dog.
They're like, make it look like a puppy again. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to a client that it's not the hair that makes your dog look like the puppy. It's the shape of the skull and the eyes.
Right.
Like,
Well, and the fact that it's just never been trimmed.
yeah. Well, like this, it's the proportions of the skull and the eyeballs and the nose. Like they're in infant proportions. Like even if you look at a human baby and all the eyes and everything, the head's hecka big. The eyes are towards the bottom of the face, and the mouth is all smushed. It look like a baby.
Squishy.
Right.
And then as you get older, it all widens out. The dog does the same thing. I'm like, I can't like move your dog's eyes.
Right.
I mean, I could trim it in a way, but like,
It's not.
that
it
is
won't be the
pretty
same.
annoying. But every time people do it, I try my best to explain to them.
Yes.
Right. Well, I think that's just
I always tell them like, I cannot.
I feel like some clients don't know like this is a puppy and this is an adult.
Right.
But at least bring a picture of the same breed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Well, and then I think it's hard with doodles, especially, right? Because they come in so many different coat varieties. So then you get somebody that brings in like that perfectly sculpted doodle that you can tell has that really curly poodle coat. And then they have a really wavy dog. And you're like, I can't do this.
I feel like they always want the opposite too.
Yeah.
They're like, I want my dog to look messy
The
and
grass
tussled. And,
is
Yeah.
always greener on the other side, you know?
Yeah, that's true. They want the messy look, the messy, like wavy look
but
on their really
dog's all
tight
like,
curly.
Yeah, their
and
dog
you're like,
has a dense
I'm
curl.
always super grateful when a client comes in and you're meeting the dog for the first time and they go, "Oh, my dog has bitten a groomer before."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yes.
like, my dog is nervous and sometimes it might bite.
Yes.
right.
Like, I think normally they think like that's a bad thing to say to us, but in actuality, like I would much rather know. I'm very grateful to pet parents when they tell me their dog's history,
Right. Yeah.
because if I get bit on the seat, like, because they don't tell me their dog, you know, their dog has bit somebody, or you don't know, and you do something that gets you bit, then that's just like, I feel like that's like trust broken, you know, like if you know your dog may bite, tell your groomer.
Oh, yeah.
They'll
Because
handle it in a certain way.
sometimes you can just straight up tell. You're like, oh, this dog's been a biter.
But they don't bite, they just nip.
Oh, they
Yeah.
just nip.
Yeah.
Nipping is biting.
Yeah,
Nipping is biting,
Nipping
guys.
is
No matter
biting.
how you phrase it. I've even had somebody like, oh, just like love taps. And I'm like, nah, that's biting.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
their
if they
teeth touches my
your
skin.
it's biting.
Well, I tell pet parents like it's serious because, I mean, it might be normal to you, but I work with my hands, and a bite in the right part of my hand will end my career. So like,
It's a risk we take every day.
There was a customer that got mad at me and he was like, "What are you scared of? What are you scared of?" And I was like, "I'm not going to get bit and be out of work for 2 months for your $80. I'm not going to do that. Sorry."
yeah,
That's
like,
true. I do think some pet parents just don't quite understand how detrimental it can be, because while I have been bitten plenty of times and I was totally fine, it just takes that one right bite. And it's not, yes, I am a dog groomer and I'm working with dogs, so I expect a certain level of things, but at the same time, I don't expect to be injured regularly. That's not okay.
Well, like this isn't meant to be sounding rude, but we don't owe clients anything, right? Like
We don't owe
except
to be
for
injured.
We're not indebted to them to have to groom their dog. Like they come and pay for service, we provide the service. Like,
But we
we
don't
don't-
have to be mistreated.
and I don't have to groom your dog. And like if you don't, like if I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like it
My
doesn't.
safety is more important.
Yeah, but so I just like honesty. Like if I know a dog bites, and they say I'm gonna do it
Or try.
because I know how to handle it right. I know, and
But it's just a safety thing.
Yeah.
Then you know what to look for and how to react.
it makes me feel like the client kind of
Cares about you?
cares about me. Yeah,
On-
because I care about their pet.
Okay. Cat keeps trying to talk.
On that note, respect, because I always hate when the client comes in and their dog's a biter and we know it's a biter and they like giggle about it. Oh yeah, they don't like that. Their feet touched.
Oh.
They're so silly.
Oh, fluffy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Because it's serious and a lot of people don't take it seriously. We had a dog in the other day that last time I was here, it bit through my fingernail and it was 3 months ago and it's still growing out. And yeah, they just giggled about it. And I was like, that's not cool. That's
I would be
It's not
so.
funny.
My dog, okay, my Scotty has bitten somebody before. To be fair, they were reaching over the barrier. Thankfully, it was not a client. It was the mother of one of my employees. But she reached over the barrier and got bit, which I don't ever recommend anybody just reach over a barrier and pet a dog. But my Scotties are no longer allowed in the front because I don't want anybody to accidentally get hurt. But I'm taking care of business that way, right? Because I don't want anybody to be injured by my dog. So after that happened, I was like, my dogs are no longer allowed in an area where somebody can reach over and potentially become injured. And I always warn people, do not reach over and touch my Scotties if I'm in a place where that is possible. And I was profusely apologetic. I felt terrible.
Well, also like just as a person that has a dog and knows about dogs, you should never walk into somewhere, look at a dog, and then just reach to touch it if you don't know it. Like that's like basic, right?
Definitely. If you definitely don't.
or
Especially a terrier.
not just here. Just
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Don't reach for strange
But
dogs.
actually, though, Jeanette's mom did like they were familiar with the dog, so she thought like whatever.
They
but
were
it's the barrier
familiar,
thing,
but
you know?
it's the barrier. Yeah. Yeah.
I think a client do is having realistic expectations
Oh yes.
when they're coming in for a service.
Yeah.
Like if
Yes.
you bring a matted dog, no judgment. You know, sometimes I don't
Things
brush
happen.
my dogs.
Yeah. Me neither.
Honestly, I don't brush my dogs very often. So to expect every client to do, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
But also realize that it's gonna have to be shaved,
Yeah.
right? And it's not that you're a bad owner. It's not that I'm trying to find something easy. You know, it's just have realistic expectations.
I never shame pet parents for
No.
their dog being matted.
Well, things
Because-
happen. We all make
Yeah.
mistakes.
It always makes me feel like a way when I see groomers doing that because like for one, I do see where they're coming from because they do need to be taking care of their dog better, but I feel like that shaming is not going to make that pet parent do it more.
No.
Or come back.
it's gonna make them want to stay away. And
Yeah.
And I do get it, right? Because I think we all have worked with your habitual matted dog owner, right?
Yeah.
And I understand it's frustrating, and we've all seen dogs in deplorable conditions before, and I get it, but I agree with you where shaming them or making them feel bad about it is not going to make them get their dog groomed more often.
I also will speak matter of fact
Yeah.
to the owner. I'll be like, look, your dog needs to come in more and tell him the facts. I'm not going to be like shaming him on the internet or whatever, you know, like, but
Well-
like, I'm going to tell him, you need to come in more. You need to come in at least every 8 weeks at the minimum.
I think that goes to though, like we had mentioned before, how we think educating our clients is super
Absolutely.
important, and so that's where discussing with them like, this is a mat. See how you can't part the hair and see down to the skin. This is tangled. See, if I take a comb, I cannot, or the guard comb. So now you can see why we can't do a longer length on this dog, or you can't brush this out. It would be really painful for your dog. And then, you go like, let's start fresh today, right? We're going to get everything off. We're going to start fresh. Let me show you what tools you need. And so then we'll go and we'll grab a brush. We'll grab the metal comb. We'll say like, look at these tools. These are what you need. And then we always have a dog here with coat because we always have at least a couple of our
lot of 'em.
dogs. So we'll bring a dog out and we'll show them like this, and here's like a spray, right? Like a brushing spray. And I'll ask questions too, right? Like, because a lot of clients don't realize that bathing your dog at home can actually cause it to become matted because they're bathing it, not drying it, and not brushing it. And then it's just getting tangled. And then they keep doing it and it's getting more and more tangled. So then if I'm asking questions like, well, do you bathe at home? Because if you bathe at home, that's fine. But you do need to make sure that you're drying your dog and then brushing it out all the way afterwards. And, you know, different things like that. Or, you know, because I had a client recently where her dog, I wasn't here that day. I think she couldn't wait for me for some reason or another. The dog ended up shaved and she was like, I was just here 5 weeks ago. I don't understand what happened. And I'm asking her questions. Come to find out she was bathing it at home and they bathed it at the doggy daycare she was at. And I was like, well, most doggy daycares I know, if you do like a quick exit bath, they're not brushing it and drying it. They're just like, and it was a doodle, right? And I was like, you know, these are like
they probably thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
They're like, some groomer's gonna freaking bite, gonna have to deal with this.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then because at first she was really upset and I could tell she was potentially going to try to ask for her money back. But then once I started going over, well, yes, you were here this many weeks ago, but, well, you know, this, and this. And then she was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. One thing that we started doing was offering brushing classes for our clients.
Smart.
So they come in, we set aside half an hour for them.
Super smart.
And they come in with their dog. Usually we do it because everyone's on a 4-week schedule. They usually come in like right before their appointment so we can work on their coat together with the client. And then I go over the different brushes and go over like the lengths of the slicker brushes, you know, the long pin versus the short pin, and I show them dematters and like how to use it. And then I show them and then I have them do it. And I actually hold their hand. I'm like, no, do you see the pressure I'm using? This is what you should be doing. And then I send them home with a handout with all the different products we used and how to use them. And since we start, and after they come in for the brushing class, they don't question anything after that. Because then they're like, because they see how much work goes into like brushing out a dog. They see like if it's like uncomfortable for the dog and the dog yelps, it's like, see, I can't do this for half an hour on the dog. And since we started doing the brushing classes,
we've been talking about that for years.
I know.
But we're gonna do like a brushing, maybe close down the slot for a day and do it just a.
Oh my God, am I going to be a business consultant? Oh my God.
Yeah, look at you.
Well, you know, but then you've got like the other end, right? Because then I get a lot of clients that are like, my dog just won't let me brush him. And then I'm like, well, your dog's taking you for a ride.
Yeah.
You know, because then I'm like, well, your dog sits just fine for me. You know, and so that, but then that's again where education comes in. And I often tell people, like, I highly recommend you just get like a standing table at home. Right. Because my dogs know when they're on the table, it's business time. Like if I try to brush them at home, I think they'd look at me like I was insane.
Like a service dog with a vest on.
Right. So when they get on the table, they're like, all right, I guess it's grooming time. So I always tell people like, get a table because like.
And they're so cheap now. You can get one for like $50.
Yeah. And I just think it's super helpful. But then that's where I tell them like, okay, obviously there's a fine line between like, you don't want to hurt your dog, but they are also like children and they will try to get away with whatever they can. They will walk all over you if you let them.
And we're not expecting clients to do our job for us, right? Because we're here to do certain things, but I feel like it is also their job to maintain their dog.
Yeah.
Like it is your dog. Maintain it.
I always tell clients, like, and Katie, we're a team. Right. We're working as a team to give you the dog, the trim that you want on your dog.
Right. I don't want to shave your dog. And like, if you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to make your dog ugly. I mean, I don't think we make them ugly, but you know what I mean? Like, I want to put the trim on your dog that you're really wanting, but we have to work together as a team. So if you can do your part at home, I can do my part here, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I also recommend to the clients too that come in with a heavily matted dog, bring them back. And just for a bath. You
just
don't need a haircut.
Maintenance. Yeah.
If you want to grow them out, bring them in 2 weeks and we'll bathe them, brush them, and make sure it's done right.
Right.
Yeah. I always tell them, like, I am not in the business of torturing dogs. That's what I tell them. Like, I'm not in the business of torturing dogs. So, like, if you're bringing in a fully matted dog or just a mat dog that's too much matted, I'm not doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like people think that like we're lazy or that we don't, but we're doing it for the benefit of the dog, right?
Right.
Like we don't want to torture them. We want them to love the experience.
Oh yeah.
So we
So
have to do what we have to do.
Have you guys gotten that client that puts the dog up on the desk and then like starts pulling the
Yeah.
mats
See?
apart?
See, it comes
Pulling
out.
the mats apart with their fingers. Like, yeah, look see how it comes apart. Yeah, that drives me. Yeah,
All right, here's the brush.
I'm just gonna sit
We've
there on
done
the
that.
table for 3 hours and just pull your dog's mats apart. Like, no.
Yeah.
Or when
this
they
is a-
ask me to just scissor them, can't you just scissor them out 90% of your dog?
no.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you see
I will
these
sometimes though
everywhere?
if a dog has mats that are like a off the coat, like a half inch off or inch.
Well,
I
that's
will like
different.
scissor over the whole top and then brush it and then or bathe it and then see if it comes out in the bath and the blow dry.
Well, I do think there's techniques, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been doing it for a long
Yeah.
time. So I do think it's funny because I didn't realize. And then once we got like our apprentices, because they would be like, I can't brush through this coat. And then I would like be looking at it like, that's like a nothing coat to me. And I'd be like, pop, 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 brushed out. Like I didn't realize like the skills that we have after
Yeah.
16 years.
And I think some groomers just automatically think if you're dematting a dog that it's hurting the dog or like, no, there's tons of techniques.
There are lots of techniques.
Yeah, bathing, blow drying.
I don't think like our apprentices. It took them a while to get like that.
They
You
got it
can
now.
use blow drying techniques to get stuff out because they would be like, we can't. When they first started, and some of our bathers still struggle with double coated dogs, right? Which can be tedious if you
Yeah.
have a very impacted double coated dog, right? But they'd be like, there's no way I can't get through it. I'm trying to brush it. And we'd come back and we'd be like, you didn't blow dry this dog properly. If you blow dried it out properly, all that impacted coat would be gone. So then we'd be like, we've done it before where it's like near the end of the day and maybe they have like a Samoyed and they're like, I just can't do it. Like, I don't understand. And then like the three of us will go back there and just be like, "Brr," and like hairs flying everywhere. And I'm like, God, we're like
I
brushing
think
and blow
that is
drying.
an experience that every bather and groomer should have where like they're not sure about something and then the
senior.
fucking power groomers come in and just are like shame you.
Not
That's happened to
intentionally.
me so many times. Like Kat did that to me when we first started with a husky because
I think you told that story.
Yeah, and then it's happened to me many times. But each time I'm like, it's like a light bulb.
Well, you
like,
learn
oh.
something. You definitely learn something because that's happened many times here where like we'll get maybe an Australian Shepherd that's getting a feather trim and they're like, here it is. And then I'm like, what is this? This is like, how did you even possibly get this dog dry? And it's still completely impacted. Like, I don't even know how you did this. Like, were you standing 20 feet away for 2 hours? Like, I don't understand. I still to this day don't understand.
It's a hard learning curve. It's
But
not
then
easy.
we take the dog back and then we're like, all right, guys. So this is not what I was looking for. Let me show you.
We are not those people that are like, we demat every dog. I am absolutely not that.
But I do
if
think
the coat
there's-
is savable, I'll save it.
Or at least some of it. If you can at least kind of get it to release from the coat so you can get like a 2 or a 4.
Instead of a 7 or something.
Yeah.
But also it counts on the time. Like I'm not going to do it I'll do it once or twice. If it's like a recurring thing, like no. I'm
Well,
not.
yeah, okay. I think we all get that client too, though, right? Where like the first time they come in and you give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe something happened in their life, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna try, and you like you managed to leave a half an inch, and you're like, I did it, and they're like, thank you so much. I thought it was gonna be bald, and then they come back again the next time exactly the same, and you're like, never mind.
Bald.
Bald.
We
Never
want the
mind.
dogs to look good when they
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Because
Absolutely.
they're a walking billboard. So
Yeah.
like we're going to do what we can to make the dog look as beautiful as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And sometimes we have to
Within
shave
reason.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and we want people to be happy and satisfied, right? That's
Yeah, I
like
don't-
our goal.
yeah.
We don't want them to be mad and
I don't
upset
want,
with us.
yeah.
We want them to be happy with their haircuts, but we got to think of the dog because they don't have a voice, right?
I think most clients though understand. It's just like the outliers that like just
Well,
don't like
But I think
think
that
that
also,
we just want to shave dogs so it's easy.
I think that goes hand in hand again though with education because I feel like a lot of times when I see like bad reviews on other pages, it obviously there are definitely crazy clients out there, but I do often feel like it's just a lack of communication. And if there had been better communication and more honest communication and more kindness, they probably wouldn't have gotten the review.
Yeah.
And I mean, I obviously that doesn't speak to every experience, but I've just seen several reviews like that where I'm like, it's clear to me that like it was a very much, and like I had mentioned previously that I do get a lot of new clients that when I do give them a spiel about something, they're like, nobody ever took the time to tell me that. And, you know, and I'm like, how? Like, it's like a 7-year-old dog or something. I'm like, nobody ever explained that to you before?
Yeah.
It does take time. I will say, like, we do talk a lot to our clients, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. Glands, to do or not to do.
So we do not do glands on every dog. We do glands, but
Only by request.
it took a long time to come to this where we're at now. But basically, we will do glands upon request. It is not any more money. We don't charge extra because it just takes a second, you know. But we inform the client, like, look, we do not recommend doing glands on every dog. We only recommend doing glands, or we only will do glands on them if your vet has recommended that we do them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will go ahead and do them.
Well, and we also try to let them know, because I have lots of clients who come in with like puppies and they're like, oh, I heard you should be doing the glands. And then I'm like, well, is
They read on Facebook that.
Yeah, and exactly.
And
and
we
they just
educate
heard.
them. Like, they should be doing it on their own. When they poop, they should be like squirting little anal glands at the end. They, you know, some smaller dogs don't have the muscles to do it. The more we do it, the more they can become reliant on humans doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We also only do it externally, whereas in the vet does it internally, and I think that's better.
But, you know, since we've been doing it like that, we haven't had any gland issues. Like, I don't
Same.
want to like make bad juju or whatever, but we haven't had a single person complain about ruptured glands or anything.
Well, and I will say, I always try to tell people to, well, number one, I always, well, is your dog scooting? Is your dog biting at your rear? Are you noticing a weird fishy smell? Et cetera, et cetera. So I ask those things because I'm like, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
But then on top of that, I do try to give people natural remedies too. Because like our first dog that we had was a pit, and he would get really excited and express his glands when people would come to visit, which drove us
He'd
crazy.
be jumping all over the couch, just squirting anal glands all over the suede couch. Like,
It was very frustrating. And so we were doing his glands for a little bit because this was back at PetSmart, so we weren't as educated, right? And we were like, well, we'll just do his glands so he doesn't have any when people come over and get excited. And we talked to the vet, and the vet was like, well, actually, if you just give him like a spoonful of pumpkin puree every day, it will help firm up his poo so he will just more naturally express them when he potties.
it was a brand new young vet, like right from Davis, like veterinary school.
And she was like, start with that. Never had I think we only went through like one jar of it, and we never had a problem again.
It just, I don't know how it happened, but it just completely solved the issue.
Well, because
It makes their feces firmer.
So then
It
they're
be-
pushing harder to
well,
poo.
also too, it never became an issue again. Like, even though we stopped,
whatever it was, it just
like
cleared it up.
Yeah, until the day he died. Like, he never like shot anal glands all over our couch. Maybe he was just like, I just really don't want any more pumpkin.
Baby, looks like my poop's
He
too
actually
hard.
really liked the
No,
pumpkin.
he
Pumpkin
loved.
sucks.
Yeah, he's
He
like, I
loved
better
it.
not.
It was like a great treat for him. But so I always recommend that. Like, just go buy a plain jar of pumpkin puree and just give your dog one
That's
spoon
the
a
first
day.
time I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had
Work
a
like a
lot
charm.
of clients go home and try it, and they were like, that was great. Thank you so much. And so I'm always like, just go for the natural. That is better first.
Pure pumpkin, only ingredient is pumpkin, not pumpkin pie mix or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You don't want
Yeah,
to.
unspiced.
Well, and unsweetened, because
Unsweetened,
you don't want to
unseasoned.
give. It's just the pumpkin. It's
100%.
I will say that I sometimes express the glands. I'll make the call if, like, for example, I know the dog is like really nervous, and it, like at some point during the groom, they're gonna squirt it on me or all over the things. Like,
Yeah, sometimes,
I'm gonna
you know.
express it in the tub because I know that later it's gonna be all over my chest.
I have two
That's
doodles.
true.
I do that
Yeah.
too because, they just get
special,
so nervous.
special
Also,
circumstance.
We live in a place in California where groomers can do that. In some places, like, you can't, right?
Okay, I was gonna say, actually, just a little bit ago, somebody had commented on the video we had put out, where we mentioned.
And they said their province, they can't do anal glands.
Yeah, she said.
veterinary.
I'm like,
She
province? What
said-
does that mean?
Well, Canada's different than here, but she said never had to do it, with a laughing face. In my province in Canada, it's considered illegal because it's an exclusive vet procedure that they didn't show us how to do in school. I guess I'm happy with that. Y'all have my respect because the smell is, and then the skull.
Yeah, but the thing is, she has to deal with it, just not. She still knows what the anal glands smell like, and they still get everywhere if you're not expressing them, right?
Yeah, but I do. So I personally do think it should be a vet only deal just because they can rupture, and if done wrong, they can injure the dog. And so,
Yeah.
like, while it is fairly easy, and I would say 99.9% of the time, we're not going to have an issue doing them, I still would hate to, like, hurt a dog. And then I think that leads into, like, ear hair, right? Because that's another one that I think should be a vet only thing, personally.
Well, and again, in our salon, we kind of lean on the does the vet recommend it? Like because we don't do every dog's ear hair anymore. And since we stopped doing every dog's ear hair, we stopped getting complaints of ear infections.
Right.
And, I pull the ear hair, not pull it out, but I pull it towards I straighten it out with my fingers as much as I can. And then I snip it with scissors.
Or
and
clippers.
I clean the ear out.
Sometimes, like, you'll get dogs with, like, little tangles, or sometimes you get dogs with, like, hardened, like, earwax stuck in there. And maybe I'll pull out, like, a little bit just to, like, open up the ear canal so I can clean it better.
But the same, because we heard from one of our vets, we had our old woman,
She
poodle,
was young.
Georgette. She was
Oh,
young
you
at the
mean
time.
our old? Okay.
She kept having ear infections
vet.
as a puppy. She kept having ear infections, and we kept her ears bald.
Yeah, I was like, I clean these and pluck them every week. How are we getting ear
And then
infections?
the vet's like, you're pulling the ear hair out. This is how this vet explained it. Like, you pull the ear hair out, the ear thinks has trauma on the skin, so the ear will start producing extra skin cells, and those skin cells are then feeding the fauna in the ear and making an overgrowth of it. So we just stopped doing her ear hair, and
Right.
she's got dirty ears, but she hasn't had
No ear
infection since.
infections.
In 12 years, she hasn't had an infection since. She has dirty ears though.
Well,
So, because the ear should be self-cleaning.
right.
Because you shouldn't miss. Like, I don't do Lumiere's ear. I don't pull ear hair. I don't clean his ears. They
Well-
are natural and
Right.
nothing
But
happens.
we will do it.
They
If someone
say-
comes in and says, "Hey, my vet wants you to do it," I'll be like, "All right, I'll do it." But then I tell them, like, "Look, if this is the ear right now, if I pull the ear hair out and your dog gets an ear infection after this, like
That's
that
on
is
you, yeah.
Yeah.
your deal."
Well,
you know?
because the thing is, I just don't think a lot of people think about it. It does create like an imbalance. It can, because obviously it's not every single dog.
Well, and when you're ripping the ear hair out, like it can cause
cause
trauma
trauma.
to the skin too. Like,
Right.
Well, and then you get the dogs who are shaking their heads like crazy after.
Oh, yeah, and then they give
they
themselves,
cause
like-
hematomas and all kinds of things because their ears.
Now that is the thing I hate explaining to
Hematomas.
pet
Oh,
parents is the
hematomas,
ear
yeah.
hematomas, and they just think you cut their ears open, the tips of their ears, and like you can't. It's so hard to explain. Like,
It's
the
very
reason
hard,
is
yeah.
because it feels weird and it just keeps shaking its head, and the whipping action is causing the
bruising on the tips.
So
and
for maybe people that don't quite understand what hematomas are, a lot of times if we get a dog with matted ears, sometimes it's not even matted ears. Sometimes it's like Nathan said, you pluck all the ear hair and they just feel funny and they're shaking their heads. But sometimes when you have matted ears and you shave it, it feels funny because now they're not weighted down. Or sometimes they get pins and needles from the mats cutting off some of the circulation. And so then as they're shaking their heads, they're causing it to like swell. It's not even blood, right? It's just plasma.
It's plasma, yeah.
And then they'll swell up and then the plasma just leaks out of the pores, but it looks terrible, obviously. And it can be uncomfortable for the dog because now it's all swollen.
But now, if a dog comes in, we make sure that we tell them.
Well, we explain it. This could happen.
Yeah.
And
And I do recommend to people that have their dog shaved, if we're noticing that they're always shaking their head, I recommend getting like pantyhose or something and just putting their ears like to their head, so they just until they're more used to it. And
right, yeah.
But that's something we had to learn the hard way a bunch of times, where we sent dogs out or just didn't communicate properly, and next thing you know, the dog's like flinging blood plasma everywhere when it's shaking its head, and the people are leaving out and then they go to the vet, right? And then the vet says like, oh, well, these are like hematomas on the ears. There's no like wounds, but maybe the dog like hit its ears, shaking it on the thing, because they don't know.
Scratched it
'Cause
with their nail.
The vet's trying to come up with
or-
the best like reasoning they can for it.
Yeah.
well, it's
It's not like you can call them and be like, hey, actually that dog's ears were matted solid.
their hair. There's no padding, right? So
Yeah,
they're
there's no
whacking the top
padding.
of their skull and they're whacking the side of their ear, and they're just causing all this trauma to the ear. They're just doing it themselves.
Also, sometimes I think that pet parents just hear the vet say like, well, it could have been that, I guess, and then they're like, it was that. And
I
you're
think
like,
it's.
no, I was
Oh, sorry. I think it also depends on the vet, right? There's some vets that say
Yeah.
never pluck the ears. And then there's some
Yeah.
vets that are like, we went, like our dog, Charlotte, has an ear infection. And we took her to the vet. And then we weren't plucking her ears because we didn't want to aggravate, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you should pluck all this out because the medication is not going to work.
Right.
And it's not going to get to the problem if there's this much hair in it.
Right.
And then it's like, well, if the vet told, so it's,
Right.
it's just, it depends on who you talk to.
And I do think that can potentially be true, right? Because like, my miniature poodle, I feel like his ear canals are like much tighter, and he has really thick ear hair. And so sometimes I do pluck some of it out. I don't like pluck it bald, so I don't really agitate it, but I'll just get some of it out so it can be aired out more and cleaned better. And so I do think like if your dog already has an ear infection and you're just trying to get the medication deep enough in there, it makes sense.
Well, I've had vets on those two subjects, which is anal glands and nails. I've had vets tell
Nails?
me, anal glands and
Ear
ear hair. I've had vets tell me completely opposite information.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I don't know. Like I can't elaborate too much on that because I'm not a veterinarian.
Yeah,
right?
we're
But
not vets.
to say who's right or wrong, I don't know. But it's also very confusing when you're hearing two different things from two professionals.
Well, Ronnie worked at a vet for 5 years, and there was a time where there was two doctors that came from the same school, and they had opposing views on, whatever the case is. But it's like you guys went to the same school, had the same education, but why do you think this way and why do you think that way?
Maybe it's not a
Interesting.
completely settled.
I
thing,
think it's up in the air.
I think it's evolving just like everything else.
Yeah.
Although I don't think anal glands, I don't think that's evolving. I think that's pretty set in stone. But ear hair, I could see how that would evolve.
Yeah, I think it's a case by case basis. So if we get a dog in with like a solid ear mass of hair,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna pull some of it, right?
Yeah.
And
also-
then I have a black Russian who has horrible like thick hair, and her owner wants it plucked, and
Right.
Well,
Well, so-
Yeah, plucking a black Russian's ear hair, that is not fun.
All right. What about double coated dogs? And I'm assuming shaving them, right?
Yeah.
To shave or not to shave.
I just don't.
I would
just
prefer
choose not to.
I mean,
You know?
but we will.
okay,
use
so
double coated dogs.
Well, let me preface this, okay?
Well, it
so
counts on
we
what you-
will shave some double coated dogs. We always, like everything else, we try and educate our pet parents. But like if somebody calls me about a Frenchie or a lab, no.
Yeah.
Not doing
Well,
it.
and it counts on what you
Frenchie
consider
bust
like
down.
double coated, right? Because
That's what
a
I mean,
poodle
yeah.
has
Technically a double coat.
technically
Technically.
it has a wire coat and it has but a husky. Like,
Yeah,
no,
we're
I'm
t-
not going to shave a husky. You can go, like, and people can be mad, but, like, you can go somewhere else and get it shaved because I'm not going to
Well,
do it.
there's certain things
Or,
we do though. Like we have, and I think it depends, right? Because like we've had clients that maybe maintained, like long feathers or like the full coat for a long time. Like I've had a Newfie that I worked on for a really long time, her whole life. But then once she got to a certain age, she was having a really hard time carrying the full coat, and she was like having a hard time standing. She was having, so all of these different things, especially for like bathing and blow drying and brushing out that coat, was becoming too much for her. And so at that point, her mom was like, I know that we don't generally, these are a natural breed and we've kept her natural her whole life. But at this point, I would like to just shave her down to make her life easier.
It's
And we
definitely a
did.
case by case.
A comfort groom, if you
It
will.
was a comfort groom,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I've had Australian Shepherds that we've taken guard combs over and Goldens from time to time. I don't enjoy it, and I try to generally talk them out of it. But, and we do feather trims and stuff, but I have occasionally done it.
We at my shop in Santa Clara, we used to guard comb. We would never shave, but we would guard comb sometimes. And we had a client that, so this dog was their. I'm already like upset again. This dog was their emotional support dog.
Mm-hmm.
And when they picked up the dog, and they asked for the guard comb, right? But then they didn't realize that they asked for the hair to be cut.
Oh.
And their emotional support came from the dog's hair and the dog's hair length. So me as a business owner in turn had to pay, or they wanted me to pay for their therapy sessions
Oh God.
until their dog's hair grew back to what what they're used to, so the dog can then continue to give them emotional support.
Oh my god.
So after,
Get
and then
yourself a teddy
she
bear.
gave.
but did
like,
you do it though?
what?
Pay.
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, good. Okay.
Absolutely not. No, they.
That's a hard no.
Oh, no. No, I called the my business insurance, and I was like, hey, I don't know if this counts as a claim or what this is, but this is what's happening. And the lady literally laughed and was like, yeah, no, there's nothing to,
There's nothing to pay.
there's nothing
That's
to pay.
ridiculous. They're not going to win.
After that, I don't even guard comb.
Yeah.
I just feather trim it if you want. And if you want anything tighter, I'm not the groomer for you. There's groomers that will do it. Go ahead.
I think it's like a pretty touchy subject, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
I know of like two older Samoyeds, and one was shaved and one wasn't, and the one that was shaved
This was during the summer.
died of heat stroke,
Yeah.
right? And people can argue about what the coat helping them regulate the body temperature, and I know it's still hotly debated, but I'm going to be on the side of the
Err on the side of caution.
and I'm also going to be on the side of the NDGAA and all of them agree that you should just leave the coat, let it do its natural processes.
Well, if you're
right, de-shed it if it's hot, de-shed
Yeah.
it. But also, I tell people too, if people ask me about dogs, like a client's asking me about, like, should they get a Samoyed living here in the Bay Area where the average temperature is pretty high? Like, probably not.
Yeah.
right.
Maybe don't get the Alaskan Malamute and have it in the 90-degree heat every day,
Yeah.
and then like get mad at the groomer when, it's
No,
like,
I
I
do.
wish people did a little bit more research
Yes.
on their dog and like the climate their dog comes from, and maybe like not putting this dog in a climate it doesn't want to be in.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I do think that's a fair point because I have seen like that argument where people will be like, "Oh, well, yeah, you shouldn't be cutting double-coated dog's coat, but if they're living in this really hot climate that they're not bred for," and then I'm like, "Well, then maybe we just shouldn't be having them in the climate they're not meant for." Like, there's multiple things, but I do think if they're getting them done, bathed and de-shedded regularly, like not every 3 or 4 months, so they're so impacted. But if they're getting it done once a month, then during the summer they should be fine.
Yeah.
I think at that point you're like more helping out their coat's natural process by like shedding it out, and like you're just helping it along.
Well, and if you are leaving your dog in the yard, you should have shelter from the sun so it doesn't overheat. It should, like there are these things, right?
Like off the top, if you have a old Samoyed that is always hot, like don't leave it outside in the sun.
Yeah,
That's
probably a solid choice.
But
Probably.
there's always people like we'll talk to people online about it over and over and over
Yeah,
again.
but I try really hard to
controversial.
just educate my clients. Like, these are the reasons that I recommend not doing it. And like I said, there are some breeds that I'm just a straight no. I will not shave a pit. I won't shave a Frenchie. We're not the right groomers for you. I'm so
it's fine,
sorry.
fine. That's the good thing too about like having providing a service is like if you don't like agree with it, you just don't have to do it.
That's true. Well, because there's a groomer for everybody, right? Because everybody has their own style, even within the salon. Because sometimes I'll get people that are like, I don't want to like offend anybody, but I didn't like last time, but I really liked the time before that. And I'm like, it's totally fine. Let me check and see. It was this person.
Yeah.
Stick with that person.
Going along with that, like you said, everybody has their own style.
Yeah.
If I get a tool over with the teddy bear head and you do it tool over with the teddy bear head, they're going to look different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not saying that I'm doing a better job or you're doing a better job or we both suck because this third groomer did it differently. It's just we each have our own style.
Yeah.
And one thing that it doesn't upset me, but I just wish clients realized is that like when people come in and then they're like, well, you do it like this person, do it like this. Well, then go to your last groomer.
Yeah, go back.
Go there. It's like going to like McDonald's and be like, I love the burgers at Jack in the Box. Can you make the burger taste like Jack in the Box? No,
Jack in the Box
go
burger.
to Jack in the Box burger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like don't go to McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
why?
It's
if
not
you like
offensive to
someone's-
me. Yeah, if you liked somebody's work, just go to that
Yeah.
person. Well, I always love when that happens too, because then I think like, well, why aren't you at your other groomer?
Yeah.
Why aren't you?
here?
Or we get
Got
a
'em.
lot of people will call and we'll give them like a price quote, and then they're like, oh, well, I'm only paying this much at my current groomer. And I'm like, that's a great deal. If that works, if you're happy with that, if you're happy with your groomer, then stay there because that's a wonderful deal. And then they're always kind of like, oh, a what?
Yeah,
You
they're,
know,
like, taken
because I'm
aback.
like, well, why are you calling other places then? If
Yeah.
you're happy with your groom, then maybe if you're not happy with your groom, it's because you're not paying enough, so you're not getting the quality that you're looking for. So
Yeah.
maybe if you paid more, you'd be happy and you wouldn't be looking around.
Right. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Right. Good groomers aren't cheap. Cheap groomers aren't good.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part.
And it's like how you can expect a groomer that's doing a haircut for $40 to be able to spend as much time on that groom as someone who's charging like $85, $90, right? Like we charge those prices because we're spending the time to do the groom a certain way.
And using the products and
Right.
getting the education.
We're on the higher end in our area, but our clientele, we have the best clients out of any salon I've ever been at.
Yeah.
Our clients here they're all usually on top of on everything. You know, they're just I don't want to sound lame, but we got the best clients. You know,
We got the best.
yeah.
No, we do.
You might have us beat.
I think you probably have us beat, but I have a lot of clients I really love. And it's hard sometimes because like I'll have like maybe a busy day and it's like a client I really love and I'll have to tell everybody like, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, please come and save me. Cause it's not that I don't want to talk to them, but I'm just really busy and I know I'm going to start talking and just like forget. And that happens to Nathan a lot too, where I'll be like,
It has to happen in every salon where you have that like person that goes, "Oh, you got a phone call." That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know,
Or your dog pooped.
Yeah,
Hey,
your dog
dog
pooped.
pooped.
You got to come clean this up to rescue you from the client.
yeah. Well, sometimes you really need rescuing because you're like, please, somebody save me.
That's
This
me, though,
is
every day.
hard. No, but then you have like people you actually enjoy talking to, but you're just busy.
Yeah.
I love talking to my clients.
Yeah,
But I get caught up. I'll be talking to them.
He'll be sometimes like a half an hour, and I'm like, bro, you got dogs to do.
I feel like you can turn every client into a great client with education.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Absolutely.
If they know what you're doing and why you're doing it, they're going to be like, oh my God, no one's ever told me this, or
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. And they just completely flip and they become a great client. And all it took was that one conversation to explain the why, not just like, oh, it's matted, so I'm going to shave it.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that. Like, don't leave it at that. Every client interaction is an opportunity to educate them.
Yes.
And in turn, you're going to come across educated yourself. You're going to know what you're talking about. And they're going to be like, oh my God, my groomer is great because they know what they're doing. And I'm not going to question them.
and hopefully
Gosh
they,
darn it, you made that so you put that so eloquently.
well,
that
and
was
then
awesome.
hopefully they come back and they have taken what you said and actually listened and either like worked with their dog or because I mean like puppies too, right? Like I get a lot of people that come in with puppies and maybe the first time they're like wild, right? And you're like, okay, so like your dog's just a puppy, so we've got a lot to learn. Totally fine, right? Because everybody starts somewhere. But here's the things I want you to work on. And a lot of times we'll get dogs that have never been in a kennel before and they're like, my dog's never been in a kennel. And I'm like, kennels are great. There's nothing wrong with a kennel. Dogs are actually
They prefer it sometimes.
they prefer it sometimes. They're den dogs or den animals, right? So they will find it a safe space. And it's also really important to kennel train your dog because if there's ever like an emergency or a national like disaster or whatever.
Or an injury.
an
when my dog
injury.
tore ACL, she needed to be crated for 6 weeks.
Right. So then if your dog's never been trained to be in the kennel, you're going to run into some real problems.
Tell me if I'm wrong or not, right? But whenever you get a puppy, a first time groom, and it's super, super good, it's like the next time it comes in,
they're
it's
the
always
worst.
crazy as heck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when the puppy comes in the first time, they just don't know what to expect, and they're like, just froze.
Yeah.
And then the next time they know, oh, I know what's going on here, and then they're just crazy.
So on that note, like people are like, my dog's so scared, or why is he so scared? Because we get dogs who either love it here and they're so happy, and we get
Or they're
dogs who
nervous.
are like freaked out, right? But people are always like, what are you doing to my dog to make them so scared? But what I explain to people is like, your dog is used to being at home with you, laying on a couch or cuddling with you or playing with a toy or chewing, having a good time, right? You bring them here. Usually we're a stranger to them. This person's grabbing you, putting you in a tub. We're doing it nicely, but spraying water at you and then air, and we're trying to be calm and nice and sweet, but it's freaky.
Yeah.
And then we're grabbing their feet.
Especially if they don't come in regularly. If they come in on a 4-week schedule, they're usually a lot better.
they're great.
I've had dogs who are like completely freaked out, and I put them on the 4-week schedule, and they happily run in now. And I have this one who's still, she's like really scared. She came from like a really bad situation, like an Amish puppy farm, and she just lived in a kennel her whole life, right?
Yeah.
And she never knew what grass was or anything like that, right? And so she comes here and she's freaked out. But now her mom, we used to have to carry her in from the car, and she's like a 60-pound Bernedoodle thing. And now she walks into the salon, and she doesn't always want to come with me, but I sit in the lobby with her until her mom leaves, and then she'll walk behind the gate and walk into the back, and then I put her in here, and she jumps right on the table. Even if there's a dog occupying the table, she'll jump on
I will say this. If the dogs are nervous and shaking when they come in, as soon as they put them into my arms and they leave, the dog is fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's all the drama.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I always tell pet parents because they'll be like, oh my God, they're shaking. And I'm like, your dog is totally fine the moment you're gone. And I'm like, it's you. Our energy is super important. And that's something I tell my clients all the time. I say, I'm calm.
You're like, guess
I'm
what?
happy.
You're the problem.
Yeah. No, really though, because I always tell them like, look at me. I'm calm. I'm confident. I'm like happy to take your dog right now. And so when I take your dog, he's going to feed off of my energy and we're going to become symbiotic, right? But if I'm like stressed or behind or whatever, then the dog also can tell that, right? So we try to work really hard to not put ourselves in those situations. But I'm like, well, you're freaking out about leaving your dog. And that's why your dog's like, what's going on? Why are you freaking out? Should I be freaking out?
I like to do the kid analogy.
Yes.
You know, like imagine you're dropping your kid off at the first day of daycare and they're scared and you're just like, oh my God, baby, are you all right? Son, are you going to be okay? Am I going to be like, their kid's going to be like, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
now.
Why are we
Why are
freaking
you scared?
out?
Should I be
And
scared?
then you look through the window later while they're at like daycare or something, and they're
fine.
having fun and playing and throwing stuff.
Totally fine. Yeah.
But you know, dogs, they feed off of us, and we can really affect how they.
Yeah.
I've had a few clients tell them that it's like when you drop off, the dog is terrified. But when your wife drops off, they're perfect. So going forward, let's have just your wife drop off.
Yeah.
And that solved the problem too.
The dad is no longer allowed.
I not just for puppies. I guess this applies to like any dog that's coming into our salon. But I was gonna say earlier when we were talking about puppies is like I always tell my pet parents, I want your dog to have like a good experience at my salon, right?
Yeah.
So like, because sometimes I'll get people that will be like, oh well, can you just like get it done really fast in an hour? Because my dog's freaked out, you know? And I'm like, actually, I think that does the opposite because then I'm freaking out trying to get your dog done in a good amount of time. I'm moving quickly. It has a higher potential then to be injured. It's, I'm stressed out trying to get it done in your time frame and the dog can tell, right? And so it's having a bad time. Yeah. I always tell my clients, like, generally we ask for 2 to 3 hours. I do tell my pet parents sometimes it could be more depending on the dog and the haircut and what we're doing. But I usually say, like, let me contact you. I'll contact you 20 minutes before I'm done because, like, I don't want to rush. I want to be able to give your dog a break if your dog needs a break. I want to be able to like take my time if your dog needs it, especially with puppies. And I'm like, hey, this is our first time. Your dog is a puppy. It's never been groomed before. I want this to be a positive experience, even if our groom today is not perfect or not exactly what you were looking for, because I'm building a relationship with your dog so that in the future it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I got some treats or I got like to play a little. And obviously,
I love working on puppies.
Well, like we talked before, right? Mm-hmm. There is that fine line between we don't want to hurt any dogs, like brushing, right? But you also can't let them get away with things because dogs are like kids. They will try to push and see what they can get away with. Oh, and you'll get the dog that like you're literally just holding their leg and they're like thrashing and throwing themselves and screaming, and you're like, I'm just holding your leg.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between like working through something and forcing it upon the dog, right? Like if the dog is like pulling and pulling and pulling and you give it a break or whatever you do, and that's one thing. But if to force a dog to do something, that's worse. Right. Like you want us to give your dog the break. You want sometimes they get overstimulated,
and they just
like
need
you said,
a moment.
Giving breaks is great. Like something like never kennel my dog, or after their bath and their blow dry, we'll put them in the kennel so they can just relax,
Decompress.
recenter,
Yeah.
just chill out, and then, you know, pull them out again. Like dogs need that.
I need
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we need it too.
I need that
We know
sometimes.
of
But
a-
that's true because we can become frustrated too.
Right.
And we may not be like hurting your dog or anything, but our emotions are getting
Yeah.
worked up, right?
Right.
And
And
so
then the
we
dog
need a
is picking
moment
up
just
on
to
Yeah.
take a break
will-
from each other.
There's plenty of times where I'm like, you know what? I need a break. Sometimes I'll, I'll be like, hey, can you work on this dog for a little bit? Because I
Yeah.
need a break. But most of the time I'll just give the dog a break, and I also take a break. And I'm like, I just need a couple of minutes to like refocus, calm
Yeah,
my ass down.
We switch. We want to switch because sometimes there's like dogs that he's trying to do like
Oh, yeah.
like prepping, and like sometimes they'll like sit for him or doing something. But
Yeah.
if I switch with that dog, they don't do it.
Okay, but does that make you more frustrated? Because that
They're all
happens.
behaving.
That happens with me and Nathan all the time where I'll be like, I am so frustrated. I need you to please help me. I will like work on your dog if you can work on my dog. And then he'll take over and the dog's like perfect. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
I have that energy though, you know?
Okay, but there are times where the opposite happens. Jeez, Nathan.
Yeah. I come over and I look at the dog and I'm like, and the dog just goes like, "Oh,"
That's
and
something to
just-
remember that we are human.
No, we are.
And they are dogs. So
Well, and also personality wise, right? Not
Yeah.
all dogs jive with every person's
You guys
personality.
love the word jive.
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 We're jiving. But I mean, I do think that's a fair point, right? Because I do think some dogs just don't get along with every
Jive.
person. They just don't all jive. So sometimes they just like one groomer better, and it's fine, whatever. If you like that person, go to them then.
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, when we get when we're frustrated, it's not always the dog on our table too, right? Like
No.
it's like the dogs in the back are all pooping and then they're barking nonstop or whatever. Like that also.
Or just life things that are
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just going through something in your life and
Yeah.
you're just frustrated.
sometimes you're just having a bad day.
We're all people.
Yeah.
Same thought. Same
Same
thing
thing.
with the dogs too.
Yep.
Sometimes dogs have bad days and they're just in a bad mood.
I've had that happen before where I'm like, what is going on? This dog is always good. What is happening with you today? And then you just have to like, all right, well, maybe you just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Let me try to be a little bit nicer and understanding.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with clients.
That's
Sometimes
true too.
they're having a bad day. Like I've had clients come in and it's like,
Have you ever
Yeah.
worked at a salon like that where it's an hour turnaround?
No.
Any of you?
no.
Like one-on-one straight through.
Yeah, but
Oh,
hour,
yes.
only an hour with the
Oh.
dog.
Oh, I wasn't given a time frame, but I was one dog one time at Doggyville.
Right.
Well, it was just one dog at
Oh,
a
that's
time.
but like it's the
But I
1
didn't-
hour, one dog type of is like a very stressful environment.
yeah.
Oh.
I
Well,
couldn't work.
I mean,
somewhere.
one-on-one too. I
You just got to make sure your timing.
I
is
was
right.
gonna say I would be just worried about my timing and waste because I'm like one of those people that like if I happen to like finish one dog and my next dog's not there yet, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just wasting time. I could be working right now. So I feel like I would always be like, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time. Like, where's the pepper? I'm wasting my time.
So I kind of felt like that, but like I would have a dog coming, and so it wouldn't be like, oh, this dog's done, right? And so I'm either waiting. I would give myself like an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on the dog, and then have another dog coming in. So there'd be dogs waiting, usually. But sometimes I liked it because me and the dog can just sit there and bond, and I wasn't brushing it or blow drying it. We're just sitting there and having a good
I think
time.
maybe if you charged like, oh, I'm giving you this 2-hour time slot. And so like you're going to be charged for 2 hours regardless of whether I finish early or not, then I think that would probably be like fine, But my brain is always like, like, oh, I could fit this Chihuahua in here. You know what I mean? So like maybe it's just from PetSmart because I'm like, what else can I do?
I think different ways will work for different people.
Well, for sure. I think people's brain, like I said, I think maybe it's just because of how we started at PetSmart. It's so ingrained in me that it would be hard for me to switch.
Like me,
Well,
I just like to be chill all day.
I feel, yeah, you too chill sometimes. But I feel like we're better now than we're getting older
Yeah.
too. And we're just taking more time to be with the dogs and not try to rush them through. And I like that. I mean, there's
Yeah,
some
me
days that
too.
are crazy and you get an extra dog, or a dog puts you behind and you're kind of rushing and hustle and bustle. But for the most part, just spending more time, it makes that more pleasurable for you and for the dog.
Yeah.
And just charge your worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charge your worth. That's
True
a
dat.
big one. Charge your worth. Well, what about, I would say like maybe one of the last things I'd like to touch on for me, unless anybody else has anything, but is injuries, right? Because like, I would say like nowadays for the most part, I think we have like the most understanding clients when we have accidents, but I have had some people freak out, right? And it can be hard because like we never want to injure your dog.
No.
We don't want to cut
Not our
them.
intent.
We don't even want to quick them. We don't want to.
We don't want that Yelp review. We don't want
We
that.
don't want that.
We don't want to pay the vet bill. We don't want all these things. It's not our goal to hurt your pet.
Right.
And we get hurt by them too.
Oh,
It goes
yeah.
both ways, you know?
I feel
But-
like I get more upset. Like if I injure a dog, I'm freaking
Yeah.
out more than the
Yes.
dog is. Sometimes the dog doesn't even notice.
Oh my God. Half the time they don't even like do anything. And maybe you find it like in a couple of minutes because they never made a noise. And then you're like, wait, where'd that blood come from? And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh no.
You know, there's something I've come to realize with, because I handle most of the like injuries, is a lot of times the pet parents just want you to listen to them
Well, and
be honest.
and be honest and tell them, because like once you're honest and you tell them like, look, I did not want to do this. I'm sorry. It was an
Yeah,
accident.
I feel really bad.
And like it's no one, and we haven't had an issue where somebody got really upset after we've spoken to them and told them, like, gave them the rundown, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing is, you know, we are humans, number one, we're fallible, but also we're working with sharp objects and we're working with animals. And so like, no matter how hard we try not to injure a dog, we're just people, and like we make mistakes, accidents happen. But I think as long as you don't try and cover them up and you own your mistake, you own what you've done. Hey, I'm really sorry. If it needs to go to the vet, obviously take it to the vet. If it needs antibiotics or whatever, like we made the mistake, right?
There's some horror stories out there.
There
though,
are
like,
some horror stories out there.
like we remember we know someone that they sent the dog home and its tail fell off.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
An ear, I've heard that about it.
Yeah.
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard some horror stories. Yeah. Well, and so something that
I mean, it's always better just to tell them, if you accidentally, like, God forbid, I've never done this. If you cut half of a dog's ear off, just tell the pet parents.
it hurts. It hurts to have to tell the pet
glue
parents.
it. Don't
but
glue it, because it is 100 times worse when it falls off.
yeah.
And then you get caught up in a lie. That's so much worse.
Worse,
right?
yeah.
I
so
feel
much
like
worse.
if you don't let the pet parent know, the likelihood of the dog going home and making it worse, like the
Oh,
self-inflicted room, it's you're gonna definitely pay a vet bill then, you know.
Yeah.
So if you just tell them, hey, this happened, make sure they're not jumping up and down or,
Right.
or whatever,
Or
you know,
not
whatever it is.
licking
Or go to the vet
or-
and I'll like cover the vet expenses or whatever it is.
Depending-
Like,
I would
honesty
say
is always the better way to
For
go.
sure.
And most of the time when we do nick a dog, it's something tiny.
Superficial.
It's a little tiny scratch, like a couple layers of skin off like an armpit or a pad. Or,
It rarely
tongues.
has to go. Yeah.
Tongues are something really common, but there's nothing
Pro
they can...
tip out there though for you guys that don't know this: little sugar,
Sugar.
little dab of
can
sugar
help,
on the
yeah.
tongue.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm curious because I've seen.
There's nothing they can do for tongues.
No, there's
either.
nothing I can do for tongues. But I've seen like some people will say like, oh, well, it's in my policy that if, you know, like your dog is injured here, we're not responsible. And I do understand that to an extent, right? But at the same time, I also feel like I understand like if the dog was matted and it's got like bruising or scraping or something like that, I can understand, right? But like accidents do happen. We never intend them to happen. And I'm not sure how I feel about being like, well, you signed my thing, so sorry your dog got hurt. That's on you.
Because I think every time, I don't nick very many dogs, but every time I do, it is my fault,
Right.
right? And like the dog's jumping around, well, it's a dog. You know, dogs do that. It's wiggling, yeah, dogs wiggle.
And
you
I
know?
do like I kind of go back and forth on it because I do understand like not wanting to pay like a ton of $1,000 vet bills or something because you know, or whatever the reason is. But like if I cut the dog and they need stitches, that's my bad.
Right.
And I'm not gonna just be like, well, you signed this thing, so I guess that's your fault. You know what I mean? Like I don't like that thought personally.
There is one thing that bugs me though, is when a dog gets a tiny little nick and you tell the pet parent and they want to go to the vet.
Immediately.
I'm like, imagine
Immediately.
if your kid fell and scraped his knee. Are you going to take him to the emergency room? No,
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah, because I agree. We have had that happen.
But they're like, what if he needs
times.
antibiotics? If you get a paper cut, are you going to the doctor to get antibiotics?
So it's because I do get it, right? But I do think antibiotics are number one, way overprescribed. But then on top of that, like I wouldn't bring my kid in. I would watch it. I usually tell people, look, number one, I'm not a vet, so I like don't take any advice as like this is pure medical advice. But I look for certain signs, right? Redness. Is it hot? Is it have a smell
Pussy.
to it? Pussy. You know, like there are signs that I look for that like, okay, I should get antibiotics for this.
And it's a difference between like a wound and a little tiny little.
Yes. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, but what was it the other day that Jeanette was saying that she would take her dog in for? And we were like, oh, no, we wouldn't.
Oh, like just like a little like blister thing almost on the ball. Oh, the nail bed.
Oh,
the nail
yeah.
was poking into the pad.
Mm-hmm.
And we clipped it out and cleaned it. And she's like, I would take my dog to the vet. I was like, I would give it a day or two to see if it develops into anything.
Yeah, well, like a little, like Baxter, we had a dog where its nail grew through back around into the pad. Mm-hmm. And I know the owner, and I wouldn't expect them to take the dog to the vet, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought, my idea was, you know what, I'm just going to trim it, get it out, clean it a little bit, inform the owner, like, hey, look, this is here. I took pictures before and after, and I said, I recommend, I would go to the, like, you could go to the vet. I would go to the vet because it looks inflamed, you know?
Right, yeah.
And then he's like, okay, yeah. And of course, did he go to the vet?
No.
But if I wouldn't have cut the nail
yes.
and just left it, if I would have left the nail, would they have gone to the vet?
Probably
not either, you know? So, like,
at least
you got to walk this fine line between
when like
caring for the dog and not getting yourself in trouble.
Well, the thing about nails, like, you can give that dog instant relief, right? If it's growing into the pad
and clean it.
I'm gonna clean it and advise the owner, but
that's all you can
do. In
the
long run, I gave that pet some relief from that. So,
I mean, looking at our list and our questions and stuff, a lot of the solution to these things is just open communication and talking to your clients and educating them on the why behind whatever we do. And I feel like if you come across as educated and explain to them the certain things, I feel like most of the issues are out the door. There shouldn't be any.
Agreed.
Your customer service is a huge part of business. No matter what business you're in, but especially in grooming. You know.
Yeah, got into grooming so that way I didn't have to talk to people. Mastered talking to people.
In the best
no, not
of
mastered
ways.
it, but you know, like
I'm master certified in customer service.
I didn't give those certifications. Though, you know?
All right. Well, do we want to get deep?
Yeah, let's do a couple before we go.
Deep.
We'll do a couple. Who wants to? You want to read them?
All right. So no, you read them. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. This one's deep. These two are both just deep.
All right.
They're not deeper. Okay. Who is the most fun drunk from this group?
The cruise. I would say, have we gotten drunk around each other before? But Super Zoo.
Enough
I
Hershey.
think we're all pretty fucking fun.
I think so too.
You know?
I don't think I've been.
Kat doesn't drink.
Okay, well, so Kat doesn't normally drink, but the thing is when she does drink, she goes overboard, and then she's totally trashed the next day. So then she's like, I hate drinking, and I'm like, because you do too much.
Ronnie doesn't drink either.
But
I think it's a waste of calories.
Kat goes straight to blackout.
Well, so
I've never blacked out. I remember everything.
I'm
including the vomiting.
Super loving. I'm like, I love you. Oh my God, I love you so much. I just love everybody when I'm drunk, and I want to like profess all my deep feelings for everybody and what I like about them.
She gets touchy too.
I get very touchy. Yes. So I think I'm very fun drunk.
Do you remember that time that we got drunk in the bathroom at Disneyland?
Yes, I do.
And ended up in the tub.
Okay,
we were close.
So we were going to go to the jacuzzi.
Yes.
We were like, oh, we'll put the kids to bed and Nathan will like stay in the room with them and we'll like go have girl jacuzzi. But when we got there, it was already closed and we're like, what the fuck? But we had already started drinking. And so we went down back to the room because I was like, well, let's just take a bath together. We're already in our swimsuits. So we just drank in the tub together.
I could never imagine me and the boys being like, hey, guys,
Let's get in the tub.
let's just get in the tub.
It was fun.
It was fun.
We
just
fun.
cried and confessed.
Well, in Vegas, the tub is big enough, so we should try it maybe.
Yeah.
Aww,
Right
that'd
on.
be so sweet. Yeah. But
That was a fist bump.
it was supposed to be anyway.
Well,
was
it's
supposed
on
to be.
the
I don't know
cameras
what
too.
that was. But yeah, but then she was sick the next day. I was fine because I didn't overdo
Not the
it.
next day, that night.
Oh, that yeah. Well, we went to
I tried to go to bed and the world was spinning.
we slept in the same bed, and I like woke up and she was like, "I've been in the bathroom all night, like back and forth," and I was like, "I didn't even know you got up." All right. Poor
don't know.
thing.
I think-
You know what though? She was a freaking trooper, and she still went on the roller coaster.
I'm pretty sure I was still drunk the next day.
Probably.
It made me sick. I didn't even drink. But seeing her, like, from the day before throwing up all night, getting on roller coasters, like, just the sight of it made me nauseous.
Yeah.
Well, so I will say I do not like getting sick like that. So I am like, I've gotten too drunk like once or twice and did not throw up, but just like I felt really sick and I hate it. I don't like to do it. And it's really funny because when I do get too drunk, I'll usually be like, Nathan, help me. So like we'll be like talking to somebody and I'm like, it's me. I'm super fun drunk. And then like the moment they turn away, I'll be like, Nathan, help me. Please
Yeah.
help me.
When we first got together, she would, she's like has a phobia against throwing up.
I do have a
and
phobia.
she told me that, and she was like a size 0 with like, I thought for sure she was like, you are anorexic or something.
Or
And
bulimic.
you're-
It's
or
bulimic,
bulimic and trying to just like say that. But turns out, like, she just has never thrown up. What's the whole time been with her?
Well, since I the last time I like truly threw up, I was 7, and I am deathly terrified of throwing up. So
Sometimes
like
it's the relief you need.
but see, people around me will be sick, and I'm like,
Yeah, she
I'll
practically
start to have-
Lysoled my face the other
I will have anxiety attacks. It's actually, I hate it. I hate that I'm so like freaked out about it, and I wish that I wasn't because it rules my life in a lot of ways.
I look forward to throwing up at the end of the night. Like if I used to go out a lot.
At the end of the night.
Okay, so are you
yeah,
bulimic?
No. But like if I was at the bar, right, and I was like just drinking way too much, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to go home and just throw all this up and just go to bed. So I
I've
would go
known
home,
people like you.
throw up, and go to bed because then you feel fine the
Wait,
next day.
No, okay.
What about when you're like you don't want to touch the toilet, but then you're like you just feel so sick. You just feel so sick that you embrace it. You know what I mean? You're just like, just hold. me,
Sometimes you
toilet.
use it as ammo to throw up. You're like, my head is in the toilet right now. What?
So when I went to Vegas with Christine and Sherry,
that was when you were 21, right? You
Yeah,
turned
I
21.
was like fresh 21, and I got so drunk, and I made it all the way back to the hotel room, but they said that I was throwing up and laughing.
Okay, but see, this is what we talk about, right?
Laughing.
Though, right? Because how many times have you been drunk?
Maybe 5.
Yeah, and every time she just goes straight to super smashed. I'm like, you got to find the happy medium.
But then they came in the bathroom, and I was laying on the floor of the shower, and I was just like singing. I was very happy about
At
it.
least you were happy, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like my worst nightmare. Like it literally is my worst nightmare. Like I've like dry heaved several times as like an adult, and I like the whole time I'm like, oh my god, like just terrified,
Yeah,
which is so dumb, and I
just, like-
hate it.
I just like don't like being drunk. I like having a little.
I like
having a
being
drink or two and just
buzzed.
having a little buzz. That's fine.
I
But
like
don't
being
like being
buzzed,
drunk.
yeah. But what about? I feel like we've known people though that you'll be like out and they'll get smashed, and then they're like, I'm gonna go throw up, and then they come back and drink more, and I'm like, oh, I
That's
can't
weird.
do it. I
No,
can't
that's
do
Juan.
it.
That's Juan.
That's me. Yeah. Make more room.
No, I can't do it. I just like to be a little bit buzzed. Yeah, not anything
Yeah.
crazy, but I do think I'm a really fun drunk. So I'm gonna say me. That was the question.
Oh yeah. That's
I was like, what was the question?
I'm gonna say Katie too because if I get the window right, like it's
Oh.
good. You know, there's like this small with Katie. There's like this small window where
I think that's a normal drunk girl thing. There's a window.
Yeah, you sneak off.
Okay,
to
wait a
some,
second though. I'm not
bathroom or
like
something.
I'm not
right.
Yeah, like
It's consensual.
Well, we're
a
married.
consensual window,
No,
not
but
like
it's
the
no.
perfect won't remember me window.
No. The window is I'm not too tired because then once you hit a certain drunk, you're like I'm exhausted
Yeah.
and I just want to go to bed.
Yeah,
And it's a small window of
like 20 minutes. I'd say.
buzzed to like I'm drunk and then like I'm going to sleep.
Well, there's times at parties or shindigs where you guys disappear for about 20 minutes, and I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, don't tell nobody.
No, it's just a private phone call that we have to make or a
Together.
conversation. That's what we tell our kids right now. We'll be like, guys, mommy and daddy are having an important discussion, so don't bother us, but we'll be back out soon, so just watch TV. They
Put
don't, I don't
SpongeBob
like,
on.
Like the other day, you left the lady here, and you're like, "We'll be back."
okay, but no, we actually went and ran errands. We
Oh,
did go run errands. That wasn't that, but
Good
yeah,
idea, though.
It was a good idea.
I thought that's what
No,
was one
it
of the
wasn't.
things. You get caught up in stuff. I was like,
So if you see us at a show, buy us a drink.
yeah,
Yeah,
right?
buy us a
Buy us
drink.
a drink.
I'll go for a
And
Coke.
you can decide who the funnest drunk is.
Yeah,
Not, not before competing, though.
not before
this one.
competing.
Oh yeah.
No, I have a bad habit of
Getting
drinking
sick.
before I compete the day before. So I'm not doing that no more. No more.
Okay.
On the last day.
Oh, you made that
on Sunday.
confusing. You
Oh,
mean
'cause
you
before
party?
jackpot, isn't it?
Yeah, you mean you party and then have to compete the next day. He doesn't get drunk before the competition.
right.
No. Yeah. I don't like being under any substance when I'm working with animals. I
No.
like to
Right.
have a really clear head.
Yes. Well, I think it's important. Okay, so the other question is, and I'm not actually sure how I'll answer this, but what's something that you don't get the hype about and why?
Mullets.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Drama.
Colored hair.
How dare you.
The hype. I don't know. What about, is there any like products that you guys can think of that like you don't get the hype about?
I feel like I had something and it just farted right out of my head.
It butterflied away.
Yeah.
It's Wad.
I'm all doodles. I don't get the hype about it.
True.
Yeah, I mean, but
I
I
don't
don't
know.
want to say, I don't want to harp on the same thing. But I
No,
don't, I
oh, yeah.
don't get it. Like, you're on, like, I want the same dog as everybody else. You know, like, it just,
Yeah, everybody
I don't
has
get
them
it.
now.
Cute,
And they all
fluffy.
look the same, no
Yeah,
matter if they're Bernedoodle, Labradoodle, Golden Doodle,
dogs, to me,
Pernadoodle.
the beauty of dogs is they're so unique, every breed.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, everybody right now just wants the same exact dog. I mean, they are cute, though, so you can't,
They
I
are
mean,
cute, yeah. Okay, what else? What do we not get the hype about? What do
I don't-
you guys not get the hype about?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know.
I don't get the hype. I don't understand Game of Thrones.
What?
Oh
I don't.
Controversial.
It's
Also,
just
it's
so,
like 5 years ago, dude.
right, but I just don't get it. I just don't understand the appeal. I don't.
It has
like,
all
it's
the
just,
best things.
It's
Okay,
yes,
wait.
but it's like,
Fantasy.
why do you want to
The right
watch an
time period.
incestuous show?
Oh, I don't
Like, yeah,
Okay,
it's like,
no,
oh
we
yeah, they fuck
hated
they fuck the brother
them.
and sister. You know, they have sex, but this, it's like, okay, but you lost me at the brother and sister. Like, I don't.
It's not about
And then they
that.
push
Wait,
kids
It's
wait,
just
out
a little
windows.
spice.
Wait, okay, but Ronnie, do you like Game of Thrones?
He loves
Oh,
me.
okay. I'm just checking.
No, it's just me. I just
Okay, it's
don't.
just Juan.
I
very like fantasy, medieval,
Oh.
sci-fi, everything.
Fantasy, yeah.
He is opposite. He is like pop culture. This. I am.
I like them both.
I like current stuff. I just don't get the appeal of like castles and dragons
Really?
and like
Oh my
everything's
God.
always so dark
Yeah.
and it's like turn up this, like I can't see anything. Like I just don't.
If I could be a fairy,
Episode of Game of Thrones, okay?
if I could be a fairy, I would be a fairy right now. That I changed my
I
animal.
love-
I want to be a fairy. No, I'm
It's not an
Yeah,
animal.
I
It's a
don't know.
mythical
Like
creature.
Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter.
Oh my God!
Like
it's
I
getting
like
worse.
Well, yeah. Stop.
Please stop.
Wait, did you just say Harry Potter? You're not
Harry
allowed to be a
Potter.
Gryffindor anymore.
His sister and his mom, they've never watched Harry Potter.
No,
How can you say you're a Gryffindor?
because I took a test on Pottermore and it told me. I just okay. I love.
I don't know if
Okay,
we're
I don't know if I
friends
love
anymore.
it. It's an enjoyable movie to watch.
What?
What movie?
Like Harry Potter, for
Okay.
example. Like I don't
Oh,
think
yeah, yeah.
I cannot sit through Game of Thrones. I cannot sit through Lord of the Rings. I've tried and I
It's
just
so good. It's
cannot.
like a
So
medieval
good.
soap opera
Okay, so
where
what are you
people die.
into? Medieval.
As soon as we get to Goblet of Fire, he stopped.
I stopped because it's the most boring.
Wait, you think the Goblet of Fire is the most boring?
I stopped reading.
like my favorite
I stopped reading halfway through the book because I just lost interest. I stopped watching halfway through the movie because I lost interest. Like I would watch
I
1, 2,
just-
3, skip 4, 5, 6, 7.
I just like don't understand you fundamentally.
Okay, what do you like then? Watch wise.
I'm a rom-com guy.
Oh, I love rom-coms too, though.
Game of Thrones basically took my teenage search history and then turned it into a show.
Nice. Smash.
Smash.
No, not.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
know.
playing.
I know I do. I love rom-coms too, because I think we've talked about this before. Where I love all of the nerdy stuff. Like I'm super into it. Fantasy books, give it to me. I love all the fantasy movies. Like I'm super into that. But I also love the other stuff too, because like we've talked about like Euphoria. When is that show coming back? I freaking
That's a
love
good
that
show.
show.
That's a really good show.
Euphoria. I love it.
2025.
Now it's going to be people in their 30s playing teenagers.
Hopefully they do a time jump or something.
Something. But like I love that kind of stuff, and I love rom-coms. Like take me back to the early 2000s.
Right. They don't make them
But rom-coms
anymore.
aren't the same like they used
They're
to.
not.
That's what I'm saying. Take
But
me
you
back.
just watch the old ones, like Never Been Kissed,
Oh my
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days,
Oh, that's a
Miss
classic.
Congeniality.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're just those. Like why would you? I don't know.
Okay.
I would rather like smile the whole time I'm watching something than like squint trying to see what the screen is. Like I just don't.
We just started showing our kids Lord of the Rings again, and the first time, this is the second time. The first time they weren't old enough and they just couldn't sit. Now my
Well, they
son,
just didn't get it.
my son is completely enthralled. He's completely enthralled by Lord of the Rings. He's like, Dad, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
We went through the Hobbit, and he's like, this dragon is in the dragon's talking to the Hobbit, and he's like, it's putting a smile on my face, and you're just looking at me deadpan. I just don't get it, man. I just don't.
Well, that's why Mean Girls.
Well, you know what else though?
You guys love dogs.
I was gonna say we're just like raising them right, you know, because like they're also.
What are you trying to say?
Well, no,
That
because,
somebody messed up with you, man.
Well, yeah, somebody messed up. No, but
Well,
like,
did you not hear? My mom doesn't like Harry Potter. My sister's
That's
never.
crazy.
It's maybe
But-
because I'm Mexican. Like I didn't get into.
okay, wait though.
Oh, good.
You can finish that thought too. But I was gonna say because I was going to say because Owen also loves anime already. Like he super loves anime. But I am always surprised how many Mexican people love anime.
Juan doesn't. He calls them cartoons, and he doesn't like how they're.
Okay, I don't
not
like
cartoon.
I don't like anime
So
either.
I-
I don't get the hype.
Not watching with me.
No, it's like you just don't give it a chance. Especially with Cat. I know if you watch Spirited Away, you would love it.
Oh my god!
It's one of the best movies ever made.
I think it's because I grew up very Mexican. I grew up watching novelas, soap operas, and there was I didn't grow up watching like fantasy stuff, like as a kid. So I didn't
Right.
get into American culture until about like 6th, 7th grade. No, probably like 5th grade. But I feel like at that point it was a little too late for me to like younger demographic things. So I feel like that's where my mom messed up.
Golem is like almost a chupacabra. Or
Chupacabra.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Almost.
Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of a whole lot of random. We really appreciate it. Make sure to send in your questions, your comments, crazy customer stories, more questions that we can do another episode like this. Anything else? No? That's it.
No.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.